Hey everyone, this is Rob with Untitled Car Project. Hey, I'm not in this week, but the guys take over. They do a great job. Maybe a little sidetracked with some RC car and airplane talk at the beginning, but they get through it and they get back to the car stuff. It's a great episode. Thanks for listening, and just bear with us. It comes back around, I promise. All right.
Well, welcome to another episode of Untitled Car Project. I'm your host, Jeremy Molt.
Grant Gonzalez.
Ian Fike.
And today in studio, we have Michael Grable.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Mike.
Okay, so now that I got show notes up and I've totally gone blank.
You went blank?
Yeah, well, not with show notes in front of me.
Oh, okay. Oh, everyone can actually see him this time.
Yeah, I made him big and on notes. So, all right, so we brought Michael in for a few reasons today. One, I really enjoy the fact that when he listens to the show, he sends me things like, oh man, there's a lot more about BMWs that you guys need to know. And he sends me all of this information. I'm like, dude, I got to get this guy on, right? Well, he actually has a couple projects that he's been working on for quite some time, right?
Yeah.
And what I'm talking about, he's got some RC cars, RC helicopters, and a couple planes that you're building at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know you were doing planes too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
So, actually, you're building the planes from scratch, basically, right?
Yeah. I've come up with two designs. One is pretty much finished, and I'm actually selling kits of that one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like builders kits.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a pusher jet. It's that type of style. So
like a A10 kind of jets in the back, push forward.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? I don't know what a pusher jet is.
You know what a Delta Wing is?
Yeah. I've seen that. I know what you're talking about.
And so it's that design. That design is nothing new. But what is new and what's really cool about my airplanes that I make is I've come up with this material, this foam board, where I'm taking a laminate film, like a 10 mil laminate film, and I'm coating the boards on both sides with this 10 mil laminate film.
Oh, interesting.
And so we went and did a bunch of testing at work with different boards and different types of film, and we weighed them to try to get the best ratio as far as weight versus strength goes. And we came up with this ratio, and it's pretty amazing. So these are called profile planes. So there's no airfoil in them. It's basically flat foam board, but it's in a 3-dimensional design. There's no spar. Okay. So most of the time when you have a plane like that, it has a 37-inch wingspan. There's some kind of reinforcement. And so that's my whole thing behind this board is you don't need any reinforcements.
Interesting.
And I've put this thing to the ringer, and it just won't break the board. It won't bend the wing. Do
you have it with, because it's foam between two laminate, can you honeycomb the foam then to reduce its weight and still keep its strength?
Doesn't need to.
Possibly, but I don't have access to foam like that, so I wouldn't even know where to start.
Just start poking literally holes every so often.
Yeah. I mean, that's an idea.
Yeah. I'm not sure why I'd need to. This foam board is pretty lightweight.
Yeah, but
it is
lighter the better, right?
Or is it be drastically lighter than what you were working with or considering before, right?
I mean, I wasn't really considering something else before. The thing was I came up with this idea for the board. I came up with a bunch of ideas for the board, actually, and then we kind of settled on this thing. And I was like, okay, I'm going to make this pusher jet, after a design that I kind of liked. And it's just phenomenal, the results were. And then we went off, we're building another plane. It's called like a stick plane. And the fuselage is basically a stick. It's a 3-foot piece of 1/2-inch aluminum. And
so literally just a stick.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And then the pieces attached to the stick throughout the fuselage. So you have a motor in the front, you have a wing. So I designed motor mount, the wing mounts and everything, even the landing gear, which has suspension, which that's getting a lot of attention too. So it's a very durable plane. It's a very slow flyer, like a beginner friendly plane, kind of the opposite of the jet, which is the jet is like an advanced type of plane. That plane goes close to 100 miles an hour.
Oh, dang.
So when you say beginner, does it mean that it costs less to build, it's easier to fly? Is it both?
Not necessarily cheaper. It's just easier to fly.
Got it.
Because it's a lot slower. It's more forgiving.
For sure.
You know, you could yank around on the sticks and it's just going to kind of float around and meander around. You know,
interesting.
So so I've been working on those and having a lot of fun with that. We're trying to perfect the stick plane right now. I've been through like 3 different versions, and we just did a bunch more testing last week on them, and we're not 100% on them yet. So, I don't know. We're going to play with it a little bit more and just, you know, a little bit more fine tuning. Then I'll eventually have kits. My goal is to get some of these kits in the local hobby stores and see, because
like a Tammy's hobby shop or something like that.
Yeah, because it's a builder's kit, which is kind of hard to get anymore. Mm-hmm. It's super cheap. It's kind of unique. You know, and it's something that's locally made, and you know,
how would you go in for making these kits to actually make them to a scale where you can sell them to the shop? Is there like once you build them, you're then start making what the manufacturing process is, or is it very easy just grab materials together and put instructions?
So right now on the Striker kit, you know, I have kits assembled. So the hard part's done. It's just like you said, manufacturing. So 3D printing is nothing. You just set the 3D printer and let it rip all night. The hardest part of that is everything is hand cut. So I have some patterns that I use, and I have to trace the patterns on large boards, you know, and then cut them out by hand. And that's the most time consuming part of it. According to my knowledge right now, I'm not 100%, but there's not really a laser cutter that will cut that kind of material when it's laminated like that.
Oh, just because it melts or something?
Yeah, there's something there that with it's polyplastic. So there's something there. I've talked to a few people that have them, and they're like, man, I don't know. You know, I wouldn't really want to put that in there. And I'm not going to go spend $5,000 to find out.
What about like a jet cutter, water jet cutter? Could it resist that?
So the foam core is coated in paper.
Okay, so melt it immediately.
It would soak in.
Right. You don't want to get it wet.
No.
Yeah.
Once you got that paper wet, it would be it would probably fall apart, right?
Well, it would start delaminating a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
But
so going back to beginner, you said that there's not a lot of kits left like this. Were there? Or?
Yeah. So back in the day, well, way back in the day, let's say in the 70s and 80s, you couldn't go to the store and buy a plane that would you can take out of the box and fly. You had to build it.
Of course.
And those were called builder's kits.
Okay.
Nowadays, you can walk into a store and buy a complete plane with a remote control and charge it and take it out and fly it.
Ready to run. Right?
Yeah, and most of the airplanes are like that today.
That's originally how I got into the hobby of that one. I actually flew a good amount for probably like 2 or 3 years back in high school about planes. It was definitely a fun hobby to do, just finding a good size field and good size area and just fly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's very challenging, and especially with helicopters, that's a whole nother realm of flying.
That's something I've always wanted to get into.
I imagine that is not for everybody, but
those are a lot different to fly.
Yeah, a lot different.
I'm sure you get more crashes, or
a lot more crashes, and they're a lot more expensive.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're doing it more and more and more because you have to get better at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but going back to the kits, you know, it just, as time has gone by, it's just getting easier for somebody to get the plane and fly it and not go through the building experience. I think going through the building experience, especially for kids, like younger kids that have a knack for it, this would be a great entry to the hobby. And then it's going to teach them a little bit about airplanes as they're building it, you know, before they even fly, which is just better all the way around, you know.
I
and
agree.
Then they'll have a lot more respect for the model after it's finished too, if they built it, versus something that just came from the store from overseas.
Do you think then anyone getting into the hobby, is there a way to know, like, if you want to just try something out and buy a thing already built versus, say, building a kit? Because I remember when I was getting back into it, like a lot of the World War II style planes I really like would be those kits. And it was definitely a huge investment to get in through, but it was easier to grab a cheaper, $100 plane, $200 plane, fly that, learn that. Is that right? Would you still recommend that, or still go build something and have the patch for that? But,
I mean, if you're just starting out, it's great to go out and just buy something that you can, just fly out of the box, because you don't have to go through setup and all that. Now, if you're really going to go, deep into it, or you're trying to teach a kid, then I would say get a builder's kit and build it up and build with the kid. Or if you have a friend, a buddy that really knows all the ins and outs, basically, I guess somebody to help you through the process. But it would be a lot easier.
It's easier to find than something like that with a club, or do most hobby shops like not have mentorship programs, but like can direct you in ways to find people like that?
So the clubs, there's a bunch there with the clubs.
Mm-hmm.
The clubs are from, the Portland area. I would say they're kind of far and distant.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the drive time, and there's the fees. There's the AMA membership and all the above. It's a lot easier to find local spots where people fly. I guess they call it renegade flying.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what I do. And you can meet great people there. And, I have met some people there this year and have their phone numbers. We can, text back and forth. And,
so for a beginner, would that be pretty tough?
No, I'm sorry. No, you could make it really easy by doing it a certain way, which would be, getting a proper trainer plane and not like a warbird.
Yeah.
And getting a simulator. A simulator is worth its weight in gold.
I bet.
You mean like on the PC? You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just hook up your controller to it and you can sit there and fly and crash.
Pretty
and fly
accurate.
And crash.
Yeah.
The handling physics, maybe the aerodynamics are not all the way there, but what you're obtaining, you're getting your muscle memory.
Mm.
So when you go out in real life, it's not going to feel the same, but you're going to know the inputs to do. They may not have the same timing and everything, but you're going to know, okay, I got to go do this to do this and do this to do this. And you're not thinking about it. That's the whole thing with flying is you have to build the muscle memory. Once you build the muscle memory, it becomes really fun.
So I feel like just from an outside perspective, more people are getting nowadays into drones, I would say, and any other type of flight RC. Mm-hmm. Would you say that being interested and skilled in one set, whether it's helicopters, airplanes, drones, they translate well to the other one? Or is it completely different mechanics that you need to know how to fly them?
It'll translate over. If you have drone experience, you're going to do better out of the gate than somebody that doesn't have drone experience flying a helicopter or an airplane.
Okay.
Yeah. The cyclic stick, as some people call it, is the same.
Mm-hmm.
Forward's forward, back is back, side to side, same thing. And then power on the other side, and then your yaw. Mm. The controls are the same. It's just that the input does something different. When you give throttle to an airplane, it goes forward. Whereas if you give throttle to a helicopter or a drone, it's going to go up.
Yeah.
Mm. So, but
the translation's pretty close.
Yeah. How did you get into it, Mike?
Oh my gosh. I've always been into RCs.
Mm-hmm.
Since I was a little kid. I got my first RC when I was, 4, maybe 5 years old. It was a little tethered Honda ATC.
Yeah.
And I used to run around the house with it and go backwards and go forward and pull wheelies. And then when I was, 7 or 8, I got my first buggy. I got that for Christmas, and my buddy across the street got one too, and we were always racing those around. And then something really cool happened when I was maybe 10 or so. My aunt, back east, I think in Texas, she worked for a huge distributor. And so I got sent a couple huge boxes of all kinds of stuff, like models.
Oh, that's cool.
Little stick and tissue airplanes. And then there was one RC buggy in there that I built, but there was no electronics for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had that going on. That lasted me for a couple years, probably just building models here and there, and kind of just always staring at that RC car, wanting to get it running. And just, messing with that. And then early days of high school, I got into racing buggies. And so I had the RC10s and all that stuff, and raced a little bit in high school. Once I got out of high school, I had RC cars here and there, blah, 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 whatever. And just always had some kind of RC car. And then I've been into motorcycles too. Motorcycles is a big part of my life, and that kind of comes and fades in ins and out. So I was had a motorcycle accident. I messed my arm up pretty bad, and had like a bunch of pins and stuff in it. And I was sitting at this girl's house in her backyard, and I was like, oh, it'd be cool to have a remote control helicopter. I could just sit here and fly through the trees and stuff. I was so ignorant to what it took to fly one of those things.
Yeah.
And so I ran to the hobby shop and I bought one, and oh my gosh, I went through hell.
Yeah.
Fired it off. You wanted to do more?
About
a few?
I had this attraction to it, but it was like a love-hate relationship because it was just one after another. Crash, 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 learn, crash, crash, learn, crash. It was insane. And back then I was flying on FM, so you have glitches. So the helicopter would be sitting there and then all of a sudden like freak out and
they'd be like, 300 feet that way in the tree.
And,
there's $1,000 gone.
There was, there was a time where I gave up. I threw everything in the closet and put it away for like 6 months, and then I got it back out. And after I got it back out, I was like, I noticed improvements instantly. And then at that point, I said, I want to take this to the next level and I want to start doing aerial photography with it. Mm-hmm. And this was before drones. This was before any drone.
This is with helicopter camera. Wow.
So what I did is I went out and I got a kit, a 600 size kit, which is a lot bigger than that one sitting out there.
How big would that be?
The rotor span on that is a little over 5 foot.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
So I bought that kit and then I was looking at camera mounts, and camera mounts for those back then were so expensive. You know, they were over $1,000 and I couldn't afford that. So I made my own camera mount and it's really awesome. So
how'd you do that?
It was a cage basically. And then the helicopter would take off and then the sides of the legs would pop up like this. And the camera was suspended below it. And then that rotated over 360 degrees. And then it would pan down 90 degrees.
Wow.
You said those on different servos?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, it was on another controller. Okay. And my girlfriend at the time would control the camera.
Those control arms and everything?
Yeah, I built all that.
Wow. How'd you linkage and everything?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then it had like a self stabilization. So, you know, all helicopters lean into hover.
Yeah.
So it was like kind of on a teeter platform that was like shock absorbed and everything. I went crazy on this thing. So it would always hold the camera level.
Yeah.
No matter what attitude the helicopter was in. And, I did that and I started messing around a little bit with some landscapers and I would go out and shoot properties and they would lay a tape measure on the ground and I would shoot these properties and then they would take the pictures and they would do all their estimating because they could measure this, they could scale the property off that. And,
that's really cool.
Instead of walking around with a labor for like 4 hours on a property, I could just go out there, shoot the property and they could sit at a desk and do it by themselves.
Wow.
And do the bids that way. So we did some of that in the beginning. It's and creative. Then, at that same time, I started working part-time at a hobby town as like a second job just to get free parts or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I was pretty big into it. I had a couple RC trucks at this time and another crawler. And then I ended up going full-time there for a while as the manager. And that was just not, you know, for me. I don't know how that ended up happening.
Down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, exactly. And then after that, the drones were coming out and the FAA was coming out with all these restrictions and laws, and it pretty much made what I was doing illegal. And they didn't have any regulations at the time for us. I kind of just threw it to the side. And at that same time, I was moving up here to Oregon, so this was all in California.
Did those regulations hurt the hobby, or did it increase it? Because I know there's a difference between like going to Walmart and buying the small drone versus like actually going to hobby store and buying big pieces of equipment and bigger aircraft.
So right now, the way the FAA has these regulations or laws structured, it's just completely out of control. What they did is they lumped. It's great for if you're doing commercial work with a drone, but what they did is they lumped anything that flies remote control. They lumped it all into one category if it's over 250 grams. Jeez. And I went back and forth with a lot of FAA officials, even recently too, about how, when you want to take control of something, there has to be classifications, just like in the real. I mean, you guys want to treat these like real aircraft. You got to classify them like your real aircraft. Yeah, like there's rotary craft.
Weight and height.
There's single prop. There's dual prop. There's jets. You can go on and on.
Yeah.
And so on the RC side, I have a little helicopter like this. It weighs 325 grams or something. So it's in that classification now.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to have a transponder on it that's emitting my location.
Wow.
This little tiny helicopter. And it has registration on it that it's registered through the government. And these are a little.
And when you do something like that for registering, is it something you can go online or do you have to go actually?
Yeah, no, you go online and do it. It's pretty simple. But the fact is there's a huge difference between flying a GPS controlled drone and a non-GPS aircraft, because a non-GPS aircraft, you're keeping it in line of sight the whole time.
Right.
If it gets too far away, you're going to lose orientation. You're going to crash, and everybody that flies knows this.
Yeah.
A drone, a 10-year-old could go to Best Buy and get a drone and fly it 10 miles away with zero experience.
I legitimately, when I was working in not Fife, Twilight Home, where is that? Up north, Washington Peninsula.
Gosh, I get my Squim?
Not Squim.
Okay.
It's
Port Angeles?
No, above that.
Oh, I don't know.
Anyways, one of my listeners.
Port Townsend?
No, it's like 4 letters. Anyways,
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. We were up there, middle of nowhere, small town, and literally just woods everywhere. and we were up there for months. I mean, months and months and months. And we would go home every 2 weeks. One of my coworkers had bought a drone at the time, and without any experience, literally be at the hotel and fly it literally 5 miles across town or in the woods and just see different. He'd show us photos of and video of just deer he'd find in the forest going that way. But like you're right, you could not have no experience at all with him, and he just was like, I'm able to take us and go.
So, Michael, you're saying that it's good to have those restrictions at all, or what do you believe?
Well,
what do you believe at the core of your person?
I said it's good to have some of these regulations in place so you can go use your drone commercially. And that was the big hiccup before. They weren't allowing people to use the drone commercially.
Yeah.
That's good that that's allowed. What's not good is the way it's classified.
Yeah.
So that drone that can fly 5 miles away with zero experience, those are what set the regulations.
That makes sense.
But then they lumped the little helicopters and the little airplanes in with that group. And that's what I feel is not right. And
it's not right.
It needs to be reworked, or, something needs to be done.
Sure. There needs to be classifications, like you said, with size, weight, and, self-controlled or whatever it may be.
Yeah, there needs to be a difference between GPS controlled and regular line of sight.
Do you know anybody fighting for something like that?
Not really. There's a group called the AMA, which, they are an organization for, RC pilots and whatnot, and they were supposed to go to battle for the pilots back earlier, and they kind of just rolled over to the government. And that's kind of my view. That's my personal opinion, and that's a lot of other people's personal opinion.
Okay.
There's a lot of politics involved too with it,
and legal battles and money.
Yeah. So, and it's, they claim it's safety this and safety that, but it's more people die playing tennis than flying RC helicopters. And, why aren't you regulating tennis shoes or whatever? Then
if anything, it's more about not privacy. Because a lot of people are using drones to go into places they should not be, or into areas that, like in someone's house or yard or whatever.
Yeah, but they're not even worried about that. They're worried about it hitting a plane or something.
True, yeah.
That's the
that was the next thing I was going to ask, was because of the popularity of drones and easy access to that, and, increase of rules, has there been an increase of no-fly zones or restricted zones because of that?
No.
Okay.
What you're seeing now is you're seeing what they call FREAs, and that's a acronym for something I forget. But basically, these some of these clubs, they're applying for this through the FAA, and that allows them to have a section blocked off for their flights, like on their property, and they can fly without those transponders. Okay, it's basically what that allows.
How far does that go up to? Like a mile that they're able to fly?
It depends on what they ask for.
And is it all related to land ownership? Like the club ownership?
You got to own the land to control the sky.
Well, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like,
so I've heard of a lot of private landowners trying to get it for their backyard, and all of them being declined.
Really?
But that's
so
just from what I know.
It has to be some type of entity club,
and it has to abide by a certain, I forget the name of it. They community-based guidelines, which is what the AMA provides, which is basically a set of guidelines to fly by, which is stay under 400 feet, don't fly over your head, and there's some other, some other basic
400 feet
things. Yeah, and it's always been that way. It's been that way since the AMA came out. That's kind of like their guideline. That's what everybody kind of just abides by, is the 400 foot.
Do you have to have an altimeter in most of your aircraft then for that, or just kind of eyeball it?
And what about jets? Like, you're flying like RC jets. I mean, you're going to be, the height is going to be so changing every half a second. I mean,
yeah, I mean the jet, you just go up and play around or whatever, but
it's quick enough. You just get it back on the ground.
Usually, what I'm doing is just like running laps, trying to get it to speed. And
you don't dive it up straight up.
I do.
Okay, I'm saying, but it's close enough, right? And you have so much control, you can bring it back down. Okay,
yeah,
that's cool. Good for you.
Yeah,
that sounds cool.
Yeah. So I got to ask. So you're building kits now. You're building a stick, and you're building your own kit. Have you ever gotten into replicas, or has that ever been like say, a World War II planes, or of modern planes like F-16s or Warthogs, or even like we talked P-38 Lightnings, like old World War II planes?
I love the Warthog, and I've been looking at buying one of those for a while now.
Yeah.
There's a couple different models. There's a small one that they have, and there's a larger one. that's my favorite jet probably. Besides, like a Thunderbird's F-16.
Yeah.
Just because I remember as a kid seeing those fly,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I like those. Those are considered ducted fan models, and they're advanced, they typically don't fly the best or have the best flight characteristics, and that's probably what's kind of keeping me away from it. And I've been just concentrating on my kits that I'm building, and I have a few more other airplanes that I fly to, and keeps me pacified, I guess.
So, Michael, do you have any? Do you have vehicles, like physical vehicles, like cars?
Yeah, I have a car.
I mean, you got here, right? You made it here. Do you have anything that you're like passionate about and like pushing forward, doing something with, or is it just all transportation? I have a 1 Series, my beloved 1 Series. I'm in love with my 1 Series. Great car.
It's my baby, and I go back and forth on that from keeping it stock. And I just got a wild hair at my butt a couple weeks ago, and I was talking with my wife about, I'm going to throw some wheels on it, and this and that, and then I got off that whim again. And there's talk now I might give it to my daughter when she gets her license, which is going to be in probably 2 years, and then maybe get another 1 Series, maybe get a 135 or maybe a manual or something. I was also looking at Z3s. I used to have a Z3. But I mean, my car is basically stock. I mean, it's
128 or?
Yeah, it's a 128, and I've done a bunch of coating to it. And then it's got like a cane in or something. I don't know, but
sweet
stereo.
I love the 1 Series. I think they're gorgeous cars.
Yeah,
and they were made far too short.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. They were very cool BMWs.
Yeah,
I like BMWs in general, but I thought those looked super.
Yeah, I've always
original. They looked.
I'm confused. The M Series is the boxy ones, right?
So they made a 135M. I think that's all the best one we got here.
So they have a 128. They have a 135i, and that was the turbocharged 6-cylinder. So the turbocharged version of my engine's a 3-liter 6-cylinder.
Yep.
And then they came out with a 1M.
A 1M. So we did get those in the U.S.
Yes.
Okay.
But so that was kind of a parts bin car. It didn't have a true M designated engine.
That's the mid-engine one, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
What am I thinking of?
No. You're talking about the M1.
There we go. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So this was a small.
They specifically named this the 1M. It's the only coupe car that had the number before the M.
Okay.
Yep. A small coupe.
Yeah. And it was, oh gosh, I don't know the engine, but it's not an S engine. It's not an M designated engine. And it's not much more horsepower than the 135, but they did get the front, a lot of the front suspension came off the M3. And so it reduced a lot of the understeer that those cars naturally have. So that would be an upgrade I would do, is get the M3 trailing arms.
Like the F or the E or E90?
No, that would be oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank. E82.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that, Jen. Cool. Yeah. I didn't know that. Makes sense though with the year.
Yeah.
You say you keep bringing them back to stock, right? So why do you keep modifying them and bring back to stock?
No, what do you mean? These are just ideas.
Oh, okay.
Ideas.
Yeah.
No, I said I wouldn't mind having the front control arms off the 1M.
Oh, okay.
Because it would reduce the understeer. The car has mad understeer.
You ran it by your wife. Was she okay with it?
Oh, no. I mean, she's fine with things
See,
like that.
man. Okay.
Well, perfect. I mean, I just sold my motorcycle, but so I have, but I just ended up paying off some credit cards and
good for you.
Getting a little something special for me.
There you go.
Yeah. So, yeah. BMW fan. I think it's like my 7th or 8th BMW.
How'd you get into BMWs? Like, what sparked that?
I've just been a fan since I've been at 12, 13 years old. I was reading Motor Trend and Track and Car, and I could have told you all the stats for all the BMWs when I was a teenager. I just had a natural gravitational pull towards the car, and my head always turns when I see them in the street, and just always had a knack for them. And then just got a little bit older, learned a little bit more about them, and learned that, I can't afford new ones, so you have to be able to work on them.
Yeah.
If you're going to buy the older ones.
Yeah.
And
which I bet that's a headache in its own, because they've got
sometimes. Yeah, I've had a few that were headaches.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is insane.
What's been the worst ones?
Well, I had an X5. I had a 2001 X5, And so that platform is basically a huge tank they put on the 5 Series suspension.
Yeah.
So the rear suspension on those cars are just crap. The V8 engines, never buy a BMW V8.
How come?
Never. They're just maintenance nightmares. BMW was bred on their inline 6-cylinder. The inline 6 engine within itself is the best design, period.
Yeah.
You can't beat it. And they're professionals at it.
Were they quad cam or something crazy with?
Yes.
And they gears and nut chains.
They have timing chains, and then they have timing chain guides, and those fail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then they'll pop. And if you don't catch it right off the gate, you're going to destroy the valves or whatever,
Yeah. Interference motor then?
Oh, yeah.
Interference motor, if that chain goes, it's just because they're hitting pistons?
Yeah,
I only owned one BMW, but I loved it. I had an E46 330i ZHP.
Yeah.
It was a Mola red. It was 6-speed, and God, it handled great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, I wish I never had to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
I had just had too many projects at the time, and it was literally one of the best handling cars I've ever had. And I've always remembered that. And especially that motor, it took all abuse I ever put at it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I respect BMW. I'm not quite brave enough. I'm just so used to Toyota and Chevy that I just don't kind of do in that direction. But I think they're amazing cars.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said about their suspension and handling.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of their focus is on safety too. So when you incorporate safety into a vehicle, you're automatically going to get performance increases.
Yeah,
True.
Do you think though, with how BMW's been going, though, they're getting too tech heavy?
I haven't driven one recently. I haven't driven a newer one.
Yeah, or do you think there was a point where they did get
Yeah, everybody says when they went over to electronic steering.
Yeah.
I want a new BMW. I want the M2.
Yeah.
Yeah, and competition.
I'm not going to let the electric steering.
Yeah. That's what my race mom drives the M2.
And, there's a lot
she's quick with that.
Great car.
What year?
Let's see. So I think it's a 2019 or 2020.
Yeah.
She bought it like 2 years ago, brand new.
Yeah.
So it might have even been 2022, 2021. But yeah, no, it's...
So they switched
2 years ago was 22.
Yeah, I know. I'm thinking of that. I'm like...
Little reminder.
They switched the body style in 2023.
Okay. So... Not a 2023. She's had it for over a year.
Yeah. So she's got the sought after one. That's the one.
I was gonna say.
And it's quick. I haven't driven it yet. I've been a lot of times in the passenger seat, and her son drives that a lot in competition. And the biggest thing with that car is when the turbo goes, it goes. You can feel the power once. And there's definitely a point between the boost coming on, boost coming off, and that throws that car. Even though it throws it sideways, as soon as you let off the gas, it catches itself. Mm-hmm. And it's very predictable of where it's going to go and how it's going to handle, which is nice.
Yeah, that's one thing I liked about him. I don't race or anything, but I spirit drive.
Yeah.
And it's always been predictable, except if I'm in the rain. I've spun out my 1 Series once, goofing off. And then I spun out my Z3 once too. Mm-hmm. Both times in the rain, though, just kind of goofing around, trying to push a little too much. But you can get them to break loose and they'll go. But you got to do a lot, and you got to have all the traction control off and everything.
Yeah.
So
it's probably a series of buttons, like a.
Yeah, on mine it's kind of easy. It's one button, but to get it all the way off, you have to hold it for like 2 seconds.
Yeah,
after you turn the first stage
it's like,
off.
Are you sure you want to push it? Yes.
Yeah.
And hold this.
And then
yes.
This big thing comes up on the screen. This big warning.
You said that the straight 6 is what BMW really excels at.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how do you feel about their V12s then? Because essentially, anytime they make a V12, isn't it just their V6s combined?
I don't know. I don't know much about the V12s. I know they came in some of the 7 Series.
They came in the 870s, and then what else did they come in?
I think a 6, maybe.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
But definitely the 7s and 8s.
Yeah, they rev really high and they sound good.
Yeah.
They sound great.
I think McLaren had one too.
McLaren had
They used a BMW. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't I wouldn't touch one of those.
Really?
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like a chain and gear whatever nightmare.
And that's the one engine I've always sought after. Right now I currently have a Jaguar V12, as some of the listeners know, like just sitting in my shop. But one of the engines I've always wanted was the 90s V12 from BMW from the 7 Series.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, again, it's like the McLaren F1, a little bit detuned. But that's an actual V12 that makes good amount of power, and it's something I want to put in a project, whether it be a mid-engine car to build or just something completely off the walls. I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be.
I mean, a V12 is always a flex, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you got a V12, like you're flexing on everybody.
Actually,
like, hello,
that BMW that it came in, that's a good looking car.
the 760.
Yeah.
Oh, they're gorgeous. Gorgeous, especially that generation. They're super boxy. They made the long wheelbase one, the 760IL.
Yeah,
And they're like 2 inches longer at every door. Man, that's a good looking car.
But the roof line was actually fairly low.
It was.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I don't think anybody's arguing it here, but I think BMWs look fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Especially because considering how low they looked with suspension and everything else from the factory. I mean, nobody was doing that. If you look at factory cars from the era that BMW like shined, it's not even a competition. They looked great.
Yeah.
I will also say when BMW makes a one-off model for a certain range, like the Z8 or the M1, and like their supercars or their one-off sports cars, those are some of the best looking vehicles out there.
I agree.
I had a Z3.
Yeah.
I love that car. That's one car I regret selling.
Yeah.
I had a removable hardtop for it, which is like super rare, and that car was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
I mean, I'd love a clown shoe. Right?
Yeah, I've been showing those to my wife lately. That's another like bucket list car.
Are you gonna sell her on it?
She likes them a lot. It's just, it's
your wife sounds cool, bro.
No, I mean I got her on the BMW bandwagon. Yeah. And I mean, we were talking. If I'm going to get rid of my car in a couple years, I'm going to obviously have to have something else to drive. So I started looking at Z3s again, 1 Series, and then I was like, oh yeah, there's the clown shoe, and I started looking. And I don't necessarily want to spend $30,000 on a car that's going to be 25 years old with 150,000 miles on it. It's hard to do. I wouldn't want to drive it at that point.
Right. It would just be a garage queen.
Yeah, and I would kill myself if I wrecked it. I mean, you know what I mean?
The parts are unobtainium. You have to buy another one.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, finding a hood for those cars is just about impossible. It's out of control. So I was like, man, I don't know. Maybe I should just try to get another 1 Series because that's just a car for me, I guess. I don't know.
Well, they're cool, and they were built recent enough to where you can find another one, and you can find the 135s, and they're great.
Yeah.
So, have you found that any of the RC stuff relates to the car stuff, or
I think there's a crossover? Well,
is there aftermarket support like there is for new cars? Is there like new models coming out?
So there's a lot of what's become popular in RC cars, I'd say, over the past, say 5-10 years is branding. So you get an actual like Chevy truck, or you get an actual Mercedes.
Like just something, or like a Lancia, something that was like really rare.
Like it's licensed. Like they got permission from the company, from Ford, to actually build like a Ford Raptor. Oh, wow. So you can go buy an officially licensed Ford Raptor body, like Traxxas / or whatever. Yeah. That's like totally awesome. Land Rover. I have a Land Rover, a mini crawler. It's all licensed. So it's like all replica to scale.
Like an LR2 or something? Or?
Yeah. Defender 90, I think.
Cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a relation there.
Is there an aftermarket support like there is for new cars? Like, a new car comes out like 2023. By 2024, we're going to have
aftermarket for RC cars?
Oh, like as far as Ford, like
specific models.
And I'm talking just RC models.
So
like a brand new, the most badass RC car or RC truck or whatever, buggy, crawler, whatever. Is there an aftermarket support that follows a year later like there always is with cars?
Sure. Oh, no, it's sooner than that.
It's sooner.
Yeah. So I have a Traxxas. God, I can't remember what it is.
You have a Traxxas, Jeremy?
Yeah, I have the open wheel truck.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called.
Like a Stampede or a sledge or something they have too.
Yeah, like a sledge. Yeah, exactly. So when I bought that thing, now, mind you, I bought it a couple years after it came out, right? But when I bought that thing, like, I bought it, and on the wall next to it, there was like this huge aftermarket part, like bags of different things that you could buy. And some of them are, they come with plastic everything, right?
Right, of course, yeah.
And they actually had milled aluminum A-arms knuckles,
Wow.
spindles, the whole nine yards.
CNC, everything.
Yeah. And you know, I was talking to the guy at the hobby shop, and he's like, yeah, they're really cool looking, and if you don't run them into anything, they're great. If you're, you know, new and you're going to wreck it, buy the plastic one.
Yeah.
Plastic.
It's way cheaper. It's lighter weight, and if you break it, it's like $3 versus, you know, 50 or whatever you spend on the aluminum stuff. So
Yeah.
And I believe that, but I mean, it's like if you're building a crawler that you're going to roll over, whatever you guys are doing, I mean, you got to imagine you want aluminum.
Yeah.
And I guess the short scale of production, it's easier to produce a small part than it is a big part.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
And then the market, more people are going to buy RC cars. They're more affordable, right?
So, speaking of crawlers, let's talk about that 6x6 that's sitting out there.
Yeah, that's my
That thing is sick.
Traxxas 6x6. And it's got a lot of CNC brass on there.
Whoa.
And brass is heavier than aluminum. So you're trying to get the weight. You want to weight those up, you know, get the weight down low or whatever. But yeah, it's been a project of mine for, you know, I built it through the winter, a little bit of the spring this year. And it's got the Unimog body on it, custom built flatbed, and a lot of 3D printed parts. It's got the sound system.
Yes.
So sick.
Oh, it's going to make Rob so happy.
It's not a radio, dude. It's when he starts it up, it sounds like it's idling.
Still sound system.
We better start it up, Mike, because
we're gonna have to do that before he leaves.
Yeah.
Did you bring the radio for it?
Yeah, I brought it.
Okay,
so I can start it up and see. But yeah, that's got a lot of customizing to it with putting the body on it. The body's from Tamiya. And like I said, it's a Traxxas, platform. And it's a work in progress. I'm not done. I want to get wheels for it and get the interior finished and get a driver put in there. And then I want to take it to a couple competitions. But the thing about the 6x6, I can't get any information on the classes because there's not a 6x6 class.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I built it to, I don't know, there's like 3 classes. So I built it to a specific class with the way the tires stick out and the overhangs of the bumpers and everything. And so it's ready to go in that aspect, but I don't know about the 6x6,
Yeah.
So
part of the reason I bring this up is, we talked about this outside before we came in to record. There's a lot of components on that thing that you 3D printed.
Yeah.
A lot of the accessories and the roof rack and the chainsaw and stuff like that. How did that 3D printer change the game for the RC builds?
So what I noticed I took a long break from building scale RCs. I think my last scale RC I built was actually another Unimog, but it was only a 4x4. And I did that one probably 8 years ago. That one was blue. Back then, accessories were a little pricey. Okay. I've noticed now that any of those parts are like really cheap. And I don't know if that has anything to do with people being able to 3D print parts or not. Because in general, I've noticed that a lot of the aftermarket stuff has gotten cheaper over the past 10 years, which is great. So yeah, I don't know if
because it's gotten cheaper. Do you think a lot more companies have either grown or shrunken because of that?
It has to have grown. Just and I don't, like I said, I don't know if the 3D printing is related to that at all, but to the market. But
do you mean like, are people selling these parts on Etsy? Like, let me ask you something.
There is.
I'm sure of it. But are you scaling down a physical picture and doing it yourself? Because you said you print them yourself, right? Which is incredible.
Yes. So, like the chainsaw and the shovels and stuff, those are STL files you can find online.
Okay, cool.
For free.
Sure.
I think I paid maybe 99 cents for the chainsaw file.
Perfect.
But most of them are free. So you can get them that way. And then, you can get, I have free, like software, I guess. It's called Thingiverse, where you can actually start designing some of your own products,
Sure.
And so once I learned the basics of that, I started, like the rack on the back, the headache rack and everything. I designed all that myself. And,
pretty easy to use.
It's easy. I mean, if you have some basic knowledge,
sure.
I have some experience with AutoCAD, and I've had some drafting.
I was going to ask that next.
Had some drafting classes and stuff or whatever, but
that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a knack for it, it's like anything, you can get into it. There's so many tutorials. I mean, that's how I learned. I learned on YouTube. I watched a couple of YouTube videos, and I was like, bing.
Do you think it would be easier now than it was 10 years ago with CAD? Because I know, I took CAD in high school, and I found it fairly difficult to design something pretty simple.
I had, a semester, whatever, of drafting, and then the last semester of drafting was AutoCAD, and I think I failed that.
Yeah,
I hated it.
No, I hated it
So
too.
then I got into AutoCAD, and I got the book, and I self-taught myself, and I was going to town. When I was working for this company in California, I was starting to design some parts for our machines, and it was working out great. But I kind of lost a lot of that knowledge,
Of course.
That program, it takes some learning. There's a complete learning process to that. Some of the freeware they have now online, like Tinkercad, super easy. I mean, you're literally dragging blocks and circles together. That's all you're really doing.
Yeah.
And you're just
it's intuitive, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's, and then I even got my kids to play around with it a little bit when they came over, because it's just like you're taking a cube, a block, and just dragging it over. And then you can manipulate
Minecraft
that
for adults.
Yeah, you could manipulate that block in any way, shape, or form, and put a triangle on it, and
yeah.
So then you put a circle on it, and now you have like a motor mount.
So, part of what I was thinking on this 3D thing was, how does that translate to, a car build, right? Is the 3D printer you have big enough to print some of the parts that you would want to print for, say, your Dodge?
My printer is really small. It's a 7x7 cube. That's pretty much my limits there. I have been looking at some other printers to print bigger stuff. You can also print in pieces, but typically on the car side of it, from what I've seen, 3D printing is usually reserved for interior parts. See a lot of people doing that with gauges and custom stuff.
Well, I've seen people in the replica realms printing literally whole cars. There's a guy who actually printed a full Lamborghini and traded that for another real Lamborghini.
Yeah, there's stuff like that. But the thing with 3D printing, PET is only good up to 160 degrees Fahrenheit or something like that.
What about that carbon nylon shit?
Yeah, so there's the nylon, which is rated a lot higher. I don't know off the top of my head, but I want to say maybe 180, 190 degrees. I'm not 100%, but I think nylon's the highest rated. But it's softer, see? It's softer.
It is softer, right? But I know I have a couple parts printed for a few of my guns that are carbon, and they are strong. Very, very strong. They don't look the best, though. But I'd imagine that would be okay for a suspension component, like a control arm or something, if it could hold up.
That strong, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, it's incredible. You would not believe it.
There's metal 3D printers. And I think that's where you'll find some of that. And what was it? There's a company, a car company, or not necessarily a car company. They're trying it's all AI automated.
Whoa.
And the way this factory is set up is they can basically flip a switch to change the car that comes out of the end of the factory.
Do you know what company this is, Mike?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but what they're doing is the way they're designing their parts, they're 3D printing their parts. But for instance, their suspension arm or their motor braces are so integral that you would never be able to machine something like that, and what the AI is, and what the AI is doing is the AI is basically testing the strength for them before the part's even made. So they'll put so let's say you have a control arm with 3 points, right?
Yep.
So they'll basically put those 3 points in and put, where they have to have some cutouts for whatever, say a strut or something. And then the AI will go in and do all the work.
And just stress test it like crazy.
Cut it all out and make it all thin and lightweight, but still as rigid as, say, a blocky something blocky you would have made 50 years ago, Yeah. So that kind of stuff's really intriguing to me.
It is intriguing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to get too far into AI this episode, but I mean, it is interesting because, the fact that it can design something, twice as fast as a human mind can right now, and it's in an infancy.
Yeah.
I totally believe that a company could do something like that. And if you even give them a design with an A-arm, let's say, or a control arm, they could I'm sure if you give them the points or whatever you were saying,
Mhm.
I'm sure it could come up with a better design in a few minutes.
Yeah, that's exactly
Or a
what it's
minute,
doing.
instantly.
You know? Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm sure we're going to have many episodes on that later.
probably, definitely that and the electric revolution.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
But yeah, I will say the one thing is, I was thinking about this today. It's going to be interesting when we get to the point where 3D printers are so accessible to everyone that you can like enter a garage and print off either, let's say something's from as small as a fridge to a full size car, whatever your need could be. And I don't know if that's maybe way down the line, like hundreds of years, later.
No way. Metal 3D printers are going to be accessible to the consumer soon.
You think so?
You think in the next 5 years?
Oh yeah, I'm pretty. I mean, if we had enough money, we can go buy one right now.
Yeah.
I bet.
Really?
Yeah.
So
I didn't realize that
And then
cheap already.
have you guys seen the houses that are being 3D printed?
I have.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
that's cool.
It's like what the composite, like almost like a concrete clay type of thing,
Mhm.
right?
Just
It's liquid.
It's just a thick
It's like
concrete.
It's a
concrete,
thick
yeah.
concrete,
Yeah.
right? So it's almost like a liquid based, right? It's so
Mhm.
malleable that they, yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen those. They're very cool.
Mhm.
It will be interesting when we have like a manufacturer like Ford or Chevy and their entire line is gone with all the robots and gone with all the work and literally it's just a printer or a factory of printers.
Multiple printers, right?
Yeah.
Long arm printers.
They have those now.
switch.
But like
They have those
Really?
now. Oh yeah, 100%.
Like,
there's a company in Vancouver, Washington
Yeah.
that is selling 3D printers right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're selling their old stuff
Mm-hmm.
so they can make room for the newer 3D printers that are coming in. And I'm trying to remember the name of the 3D printer. I can't remember off the top of my head.
But I'm talking like on a scale where, every day you're pushing out 100 to 1,000 cars and they're all printed.
They'll get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this company is doing smaller scale stuff right now, right?
Yeah.
But they've got hundreds of printers,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the technology, let's say the Ender, right? Ender 3
Sure.
going from the V3 to the V4,
Mhm.
or is it V2 to V3?
It's 3 right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
3.
It's
Okay. So when they went from the 2 to the
Mhm.
3, the print speeds like tripled.
Yeah.
And the material, right? You could go.
There's a
Now
whole
you can use nylon and carbon, right? With the 3 or something like the 3X, I think.
There's a whole
Yeah.
bunch of different ones that you can do. You just have to change out the nozzle type,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that to me is interesting. So the 3D printers on my list, my short
it's
list of
incredible.
things I'm
incredible.
picking
Yeah.
up, right?
I mean, there's so many uses for it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We got Mike here. He knows every use for it. At least,
Yeah,
I
have
mean,
fun.
I'd
Have
imagine.
fun with it.
Yeah, well, at least you tell me you design your own stuff. I mean, that's not exactly easy to do. It takes some experience to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I have some machine shop experience.
Oh, okay.
So that helps. I
Mhm.
worked in a machine shop for a little while.
You're doing like
a
tool
couple
ends and
years.
stuff.
Yeah, I would load CNC machines, but I would do a lot of hand mill work and a lot of hand lathe work. And then I have metal shop classes in high school too. So I've always done the basics, calipers and machining, basic machining principles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
See, that's another thing I think that we're going to start seeing at home more is little CNC mills
Yeah.
Mhm.
that are
Yeah.
based on the same principle as the 3D printers.
Mhm.
It'll be almost the same workhead, but instead it'll be a tooling
Mm-hmm.
head rather than a nozzle for plastics or whatever.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that's it's a similar idea, right? I mean, a machine's controlling
It's just
it, and
the
it's a mill
opposite.
end, or it's
It's
exactly.
the exact opposite.
Yeah.
You're building instead of cutting.
Right.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, one is making it, and the other one is
One's
taking
extruding
a
material,
block
one's
to-
taking out material.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting when we can go to Home Depot and just pick up one of those machines. Like, instead of going to a tech store, it's going to be in like a hardware store.
I don't
When-
know if
when-
you'll see them at.
When 3D printers first came out, Home Depot was selling them.
Oh, really? I
Oh,
didn't know
yeah.
that. I thought it was
Really?
like
Yep.
a Best Buy thing.
Oh yeah, I remember going into Home Depot and seeing them. They had big displays set up. They were like $1,200, $1,500.
They were
out of control.
expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
little tiny things. When it was first coming out. Yeah, Home Depot was all
Yeah,
about it.
now you
Whoa.
can get one for like $150
bucks. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the one I have is like $200 or something.
yeah.
And that Ender 3 is only like 300 or something like that.
The 3X is like $300.
Yeah, it's like $349, and I think it comes with a couple spools and
shipped.
Yeah, I know. Like for me, if I was to jump into that, I know for me, I want to jump into 3D printing at some point, but it's going to be like when metal 3D printing and titanium 3D printing it becomes "quote unquote" affordable.
I don't
or
know if
machines
see titanium.
Oh, I really wish.
They make,
who can
they make
afford
titanium
that?
3D printing right now.
Titanium, the temperatures are so hot.
Well, I get it, but like, say if you can get metal 3D paint, let's just say under $1,000. But if titanium is, if you can get one under $3,000, not like a $15,000 machine for when you're getting really precise. But I'm saying is that's what I think for me going into it, because to jump into something like that and really invest, I don't know Mike on this level, but I expect it'd be a lot of time investment to really know and learn it well, right?
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
you're going to want to learn it in plastic, which is really inexpensive.
Well,
right?
both, but it's regardless. Any time I feel like if you're learning 3D printing and to become efficient at it, it's going to be a dedication of time, which will be like away from the car projects, away, taking time, instead of watching TV or playing video games, like it's going to be studying.
There's a learning curve.
I don't think it has to be away from the car projects, though, and that's why I bring this up. Right?
Yeah.
I feel like you're going to see a lot of personal projects using these in the future.
Well, I think so too, but I think to learn the basics and learn it to an advanced skill, where if you are implementing a car, because it's not like
there's a lot of failures in 3D printing.
Yeah.
And that's part of the learning curve.
Yeah.
And I believe that's what he's trying to say is like you're going to have to get through that to where you get to a point to where you can just efficiently make parts for a car and confidently make parts.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you're going to start out small, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to start out.
You're gonna wake up in the morning to a rat's nest of wire all over your desk.
Yeah. And you're not going to start out printing a new bumper for your drift car. Right?
No. I mean,
you're going to start out printing
even at the massive level we're going to get at with 3D printing, it's not going to be like I have a 10 by 10 foot space to print something.
Yeah,
true.
I mean, maybe someday, maybe in a few years, but nobody has a space for it anyway. They can't even park their car in their house.
I'm gonna switch that subject, keep on that subject, because the other thing is I feel like goes hand in hand that is VR technology and designing that way. So you have a 3D space that you can design shapes and stuff, and then send that to a printer to go into.
And then you hire somebody that does have the 10 foot by 10 foot space. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that was a thing.
There are companies, actually, there's one in Hillsborough that does all 3D printing.
Mm-hmm.
There's one in Vancouver.
That's
by
right.
you.
Yeah.
That's all they do is 3D printing.
And you can send them files up to a certain size, essentially.
Yeah.
There's online companies that do it too. You can send them files and they'll metal 3D print.
And they metal 3D print.
Yeah,
that was my next question. Like, what material?
Yeah.
Because if it's just,
what might be aluminum. I don't know.
That's even, I mean, that's
aluminum,
fine. I would almost say stainless steel, but I'm not sure on that. I'm not 100%.
That's one thing that's nice to know is that
ABS, it's pretty weak though.
There's opportunities to take advantage of that. If you're at home building on a car project, restoring it, and say you do know how to do that, but you don't have the means to actually print it off or the material you want, there are companies out there you can send that file that you spent time to do for your replica, for your special project, whatever, and it will come in like a week or so, brand new in metal, exactly what you wanted.
And I wanted to ask you, Mike, have you designed something and sent it to somebody like that?
No.
Okay.
No, but I'm kind of curious if like you send them like an AR blower or something. If they print it.
You just put in small text, not AR.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
I want this one in aluminum and polymer.
Mm-hmm.
Let's print this one in carbon fiber.
Can you make it in red?
Lighter. Stronger.
I think a lot of that stuff, once you print it, you can paint it any color you want.
Yeah.
Right?
So
all those accessories are painted.
I've seen guys paint, like I said, I know one guy that 3D printed it was a carbon control arm. And I watch him online. I wish I could remember his name right now. We'd pull it up. Mm-hmm. But what he does is he coats it. He dips it in this material. And it fills every crevice and crack, and he sands down the whole thing afterward. And it becomes it's just as strong as metal, especially on a component that only goes up and down. It's one way, right? It has one axis.
Mm-hmm.
So I know people are doing this.
Mm-hmm.
They've thought of exactly what we're thinking of, and they want to create something cheaper, faster, easier to create.
Mm-hmm.
Have you 3D scanned anything ever?
Scanning is another thing.
I've never 3D scanned anything.
So that was what I was going to say. Like, if I feel like if you could 3D scan something, it's going to make the printing process.
I know it's 3D scanning.
Game changer.
Yeah, and again, you can buy those. I've looked into them too, and
they pop up on my Facebook all the time.
that's one thing that
Dang, right?
I believe some foreign companies became professionals at.
Really?
The scanning parts.
Oh, yeah.
And then replicating.
I know.
I
know it's getting cheaper. I sent Jeremy a video of this recently of a guy who started building a wide body kit for a car.
Didn't watch it.
Jeremy, how dare you? Well, I'm going to describe the video for you and our listeners then.
0% watched it.
Do you watch any of his reels?
Like 1 out of every 20.
1 out of 10 ain't bad.
But what I was saying was, when they took the fender, they used just foam and shaped it and made it. But when it came down to, because they eventually 3D printed a prototype.
They scanned it.
In order to do that, they took a scanner and scanned that. That's how they got the file, chopped it up into pieces on the computer so they can print off on a manageable size. And from that, they used it for their car for showing what the concept was. And then they took that as well and they made fiberglass molds from that to then make a mass production scale for consumers.
Okay. Yep. That's impressive. That's really impressive.
Yeah. So it's
easier than clay, shaping clay.
Exactly.
Yeah, and time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you have a scanner, and I've seen the ones that are handheld, and they just literally just scan over it, and it creates this digital space.
That's called a checkout at Safeway.
We could make 3D. we could make 3D printed clones of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sure.
They do that at the mall, don't they? Those little statues.
What?
Have you guys not seen that?
Bro,
it's like 4 years ago, but it's like you go into the mall, there's a little kiosk there, and they 3D like scan your head, and then they put in like a glass shape, like laser etched in there or something. Anyways, random thing. But Jeremy's looking very curious, like he wants one. He wants a bust of him on this.
That's not the direction I was going.
Where are we going next?
I have seen them though, like for example, I have my house, and I bet you they did the same thing with it, where it's a F40, all etched into glass in a 3-dimensional object.
I have seen
I've seen that. That's gorgeous.
And I bet you that's how they do it. Is they scan it like a model or something.
Sure.
And then that's how they incorporate it into that.
I agree.
And then they put light underneath, and it
illuminates.
Yeah.
It looks incredible.
illuminates the etching.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe Rob gave us this one.
Which one?
Let's go with it.
Is it one of my questions?
No, I don't. I hope
Let's
not.
honor Rob right now.
Yeah, we're gonna do this. Rob wanted us to talk about Dude Bro Truck.
That was my thing.
Oh man,
I'm
sorry,
down.
Rob. I blame this on you.
Are we talking about bro dozers?
Yes.
Dude Bro Trucks.
Yes.
I think
Can I say where that term came from, or how I figured
Bro
that?
dozer?
No, Dude Bro Trucks.
Dude Bro.
Well, it's,
Dude Bro.
it's like the Dude Bros at the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, for me, when I went to Wyotech, my teacher, he bought a truck, jacked up, and, influence over all the students. He's like, yeah, I just bought a Dude Bro truck. You guys got to see it. And then from then on, that was what a Dude Bro truck was, a jacked up truck with big wheels.
Okay.
So you think you probably heard it on TikTok. Go ahead, Jeremy.
I want to define this before we talk about it.
That's what? Okay.
Because like a lifted truck and a Dude Bro truck are two different things.
100% agree. 100% agree.
Okay, let's
I'm
tell
on
some
your,
definitions.
I'm on Jeremy's side.
On one hand, you have one that you can actually take through a mud bog.
Yeah, like
Okay.
a cheap truck,
No,
right?
not cheap.
No?
Doesn't have to be cheap.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Lifted, big tires, lots of rubber, lots of like lugs that you can actually throw mud with. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Proper articulating suspension.
Yes,
Sure.
a suspension that actually does something, not just a truck. And if you look at my notes here, see it where it says big wheels with low profile tires?
Okay, yeah.
Those are not going to work in a mud
I got
bog.
something to say about
Those are the trucks that get stuck on wet grass.
I got something
those are the
to
pavement
say about
queens.
those ones.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as far as like a lifted truck with like a, even stock trucks with a slight lift and bigger tires on them, like most stock trucks, 8-lug trucks, like, with a 4-wheel drive are going to do fantastic in the mud and snow or whatever it may be. But if I see a truck with super low offset wheels that are 35 inches in length or diameter, and then,
like 2-inch tread around them.
30.
Yeah, the rubber bands.
I mean, it looks like
around
shit.
a giant freaking wheel.
I personally call them skateboards.
Really?
It looks like a skateboard.
The other thing they
Doesn't it?
Kind of. I mean, when you explain it to me like that, the first thing come to mind is spinners.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember.
That's where you're
You
going to see
got
them.
I had
giant
spinners
wheels
on my car.
Really?
That's wow.
You check them out when
If
you
you
come out.
got you got wheels sticking out this far and they don't even lift the truck, that's the worst.
Oh, yeah.
When they don't lift it and they just put these giant wheels on with these tiny tires, to me it looks like a longboard.
No, okay, now I know what you're saying. Okay, yeah, when they're wider than the actual fender.
Oh,
Yeah,
way longer.
I understand. Yeah.
The inside of the wheel is outside of the fender well.
By a long shot, by like 5 inches.
It's like an RC
sometimes.
truck.
Exactly.
Yes, but there's no suspension work done. It's completely stock suspension, and the tires are bald 90% of the time.
Yep.
Yeah. Because they can't afford
Well,
it.
they didn't get an alignment either. They just threw them on there and just
Those tires are like $700 a piece.
Exactly.
and they didn't get alignment.
And they need like $10,000 worth of freaking
Suspension, ball joints. Everything.
Oh, yeah.
I know about that.
So right now, what do you guys think the best quote unquote dude bro truck is?
The best?
The best.
I just threw up in my mouth.
Okay.
Like,
So,
you mean
Let's
off the factory
you
floor?
might
or-
like
I'm going to tell you what my opinion is.
real fast, and you might throw up at that joke, but there are people who do like them,
No,
and that's what I'm saying is, what do you
Yeah,
think if
you're right.
someone was to
You're
go
right.
out and buy either, let's say, a used one or a brand new one,
Oof.
what would be the best dude bro truck?
You want
I
my
would-
opinion?
100%
Yeah,
I
start
would
with
buy
Dean.
it used. 100% I would buy it used.
Okay.
Oh, without question. At
Without
least
question.
2 years old.
Right. And the reason is somebody else put the $100,000 into it and you're going to buy it for 40. Right. Here's my opinion on vehicles.
Okay.
If you can't use it, why own it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
What are you going to use a dude bro truck for?
Yeah. If
Yeah.
you got it jacked up 4 feet, wheels are out a foot on each corner,
mhm,
where are you going to park it?
Right.
Where are you
Yes.
going to take it?
that's true.
I mean,
You're not going to wheel it.
don't get
It's a
me
perfect
wrong.
downtown person
You got lights in the fender wells.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We got a problem.
Don't get me wrong. They look cool.
No hate
Okay.
on the guys who
Okay.
have those and were listening.
Yeah, they look cool.
Okay.
But what am I going to do with it?
Yeah.
I want to be able to
Well, what would you
tow
do with it?
something down the street. I want to be able to
So
jump in it and drive to the grocery store.
Yeah,
Okay.
true.
You know,
Yeah. Wait,
I want to be able to head to my favorite fishing hole or my favorite hunting hole.
You
right?
could do that in a
So-
dude bro truck.
So
Bullshit.
if I could have one out of the box, I think there's a few out of the box dude bro trucks. There's only a couple.
Okay.
100%. I'm going Ram TRX.
Yeah,
Ooh,
I mean, that's a dude bro truck,
Yeah, I
right?
would agree. I'd agree with that one.
it's a
It's
stock
a good looking
dude bro
truck. The suspension is okay enough. The 4-wheel drive works and it's fast and it's got a giant motor.
Yeah.
I'd prefer it over the modern Raptor.
The
Even
Raptor,
R.
Raptor's in there.
Even the Raptor R,
Ooh,
I would
okay.
consider it.
Okay.
That's me.
I gotta know, first off, is a dude bro truck still considered a dude bro truck when it's an SUV? Like a Bronco
R.
or a Chevy, or a Blazer. I'm talking old school.
Yes.
Like, it still is?
Yeah, I
I-
mean,
If you got the wheels looking like that,
it's the
you know,
look.
It is
Yeah.
the look.
They started with Toyota, right?
True.
Like
Yeah.
you'd see a small
with the
block
KC
V8, right?
lights.
Yeah,
Yep,
See,
exactly.
a small block V8 dropped into a truck that started with the 4-banger.
SRT5 or SR5.
They're sitting on 13 inches of lift. They've got 44-inch swamper boggers or thornbirds under
A
them.
bobbed bed.
Bob bed, different exhaust. Sometimes they're on, Dana 60s.
Yep.
I'm just realizing, Jeremy, you didn't know I had a dude bro truck at one point, did you?
Oh no, I would have made fun of you so bad for owning
It's
this
a
thing.
good reason I gave it to my little brother.
You
Uh-huh.
did?
So, like, technically, we had back in the day, here, story time, ladies and gentlemen. So,
I want to hear about this thing because I want to actually figure out if it was a dude bro truck.
okay. We had at one point, for a job in Idaho where we had to have our guys transport from off-road
I did hear about this.
to the job site, which was about a mile or so of hard mudding ground. So my dad's partner at the time, without telling him, rented a vehicle for our guys to go back and forth, which was a C10 Caterpillar bulldozer, which ended up being $10,000 a week. And he decided that was not going to fly.
We got to come up with something else.
So my dad was looking at Gators and whatnot, and this was right at the time when Top Gear was right at its peak. And I said, Dad, hang on. You know, it'd be the best off-road vehicle, which would last us forever. Let's go find one of those old Toyotas. And he's like, what? So we look in an auto trader and flip open. We see a Toyota for like $2,000, $1,500, you know, jacked up on 33-inch tires, 6-inch lift, 1985. It was the Back to the Future truck.
Good, Jen.
Yeah. So,
the last of the straight axles.
Oh, it was good. Yep. So, we came out there and there was two passes. One that was deep, like 2.5 feet, 3 feet of mud, and one was like, you know, cup 2 inches, maybe at most 6 inches. My dad said, if you can get from here to the job site, we'll buy a truck. No questions asked. And when we went over there, we walked over there. Guy eventually came. And he came through the 3-foot mud section. He's like, I thought you were going there. He's like, oh, no, it's more fun to go this way.
They were more capable, but you're only hauling one person at a time.
Exactly.
I mean,
well, it was the bed.
In there.
Yeah. So we bought that truck. We used it for the job, and Dad eventually came back. And that was one of the first projects I really learned how to restore. I did a lot of simple modifications and just odds and end jobs on it. Like the first radio I did, I learned from Mighty Car Mod and used a Goodwill computer system speakers to make a radio in that thing.
I mean, they weren't going anywhere fast, but they worked.
Yeah.
You know? They were actually bulletproof.
They were. I mean, I love, you guys know I'm a Toyota guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've always messed with Toyota, so I will say that they work great, but they're gutless. And, you know, especially the guys you see putting Dana 60s on them.
Yeah.
Unless you're swapping it, it's a chore.
Yeah. I think my hardest part was it had the R22, which is the carbureted one. And that was really before I went to school and learned...
22R.
Yeah, 22R. And before I knew mechanics, and I know it had a timing problem and just the distributor went out. I bet you nowadays that would have been easy for me to fix.
Oh, dude.
Way easier than an EFI.
That truck screamed dude bro truck. You drive around, had the 5-speed in it, no automatic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's go back to this. Okay. Explain to me what the truck looked like.
So originally, I can't remember color because at one point we had it like sanded and it was like camoed.
Okay.
So when it went to my stepbrother, we gave it to him gift. He matte black spray painted it.
Okay.
Oven black.
Open black, and again had 33-inch tires, 6-inch lift on it.
Talk to me about these tires and wheels.
I don't know, they're big mud tires.
Okay. Were they big wheels? Did they look stupid?
They were fairly decent size. They fit under the fenders, but they were...
How much?
I mean...
Like
they
how
stick
far
out a little
of the
bit?
fenders? Like 5 inches?
No, they didn't stick out of the fenders.
Oh, then it's...
So, but they were tall.
Okay. Keep going.
And it had a bumper on it and a roll bar on the back and top lights on it.
Chromed
Nope.
light bar?
All black.
Okay.
Yeah. And
that's not a dude bro truck.
I don't think so either. I was going to say, I know where Jeremy's going with this, and I agree 100%.
This is not a dude bro truck.
Like, are you on supporting me, or what do you think?
I mean, it sounds just like a regular good old 4x4 truck.
Right,
bro.
You know,
that's my hunting rig.
Yeah, it's essentially what it was.
Or if it's not, it's going to be.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the Dubro falls under like the 26-inch chrome wheels.
Yeah.
Okay.
It looks more like a donk.
It does.
Maybe a train horn.
Yeah.
It's
lots of chrome underneath.
Okay.
Lights.
No
everywhere.
dirt.
Blue lights everywhere. You know.
Okay, it's good. It's good we're defining because like that's
brought the collar in, Mike. That's funny.
It's good we're defining because like in my mind when I say dude bro, that's like my Toyota or the company's Toyota. That's what my teachers look like, and that's what he always explained to us was something that was cheap, big wheels, and just go with your buddies off road and go out.
No, that's a redneck truck.
That's a hillbilly.
That's a redneck truck, and those are all good.
Yeah.
So, dude bro truck then would be, so I have a buddy, and I'm hoping we'll get him on the show sometime. He took a truck to SEMA, and it was just this big, at the time, 2017.
That is a dude bro truck.
2017 F-250.
SEMA, say no more.
Anything going to SEMA?
Yeah. 100% that was a dude bro truck.
Okay, that makes sense.
Had lots of chrome.
His control arm was the most craziest thing I ever seen. It looked like it was something made by AI. It was like all this way with welded all together, and it was rims that were cherry chrome rims, huge with the skateboard profile.
Skateboard look. Yeah.
Had that Tennessee tilt.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that means?
Is that where it's like this way, where the front ends,
where the back sticks down and the front's. Yeah,
those are illegal in some states now.
Oh, it's way.
Yeah, it's a
Carolina. They also call it
squatted.
Carolina squat, right?
Yeah,
it's called two things: Tennessee tilt and Carolina squat. Yeah,
I know there was car shows with that where just everyone's going like this.
I mean, I think
like
it's
boat
awful.
plowing.
Yeah,
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, if you're parking, if you're bagged or whatever, do it up when you're parking. But if you're driving down the road like that,
exactly.
What
so
are you
I
looking at?
had something on air before, and I'd mess around like that. I'd park it crazy like that sometimes or whatever. But to permanently
squat it,
make your suspension permanent that way. I mean, that's but you know what I think about sometimes. When we were young, we were doing stuff to our cars that our parents probably didn't agree with. I know I was on my first car, and I can guarantee that my dad was doing the same thing to his cars and doing stuff that his parents didn't agree with. So it's just a sign of us getting old. Yeah. It's a style, so it becomes an opinion, and it's decreasing the performance of the vehicle and it's killing it and all that stuff. But if
I don't give a
that's
shit
been
about
happening
performance.
for
if a guy wants to go spend $30,000 on a truck and do that, you know what? Let him eat his heart out. It's the same with stance cars. Stance cars, you're killing the car.
Oh yeah,
but it's a cult following.
Yeah,
it is.
So I'm not knocking them.
Yeah,
100%. I would totally get behind somebody building one of these things, and I would totally go and enjoy taking a peek at it, right?
Okay.
But I'm not going to fucking do it. I want to be able to use my car.
Yeah.
My truck, my whatever, right? The stock stance for our Ford pickups.
Oh, it's crazy. I honestly thought they were lifted, and
I hate
it's
it.
nuts to hear that's the factory height.
I hate it.
You really do?
Yeah.
So
put it on flat ground and stand back and look at it.
The one thing I don't like about it is, and side note, is I don't have the ladder lift in the back like you do. And that's the one thing that would help getting up a truck that big.
Yeah. Back on topic.
One thing I want to ask Jeremy. So essentially with what you're saying is you respect all builds?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I love all builds. I
mostly do. I mostly have some builds where I'm like, I can get behind this. I can get behind, let me say it, 95% of them. But there's some of them where I'm like, it's dangerous to put on the road.
Okay. If it's dangerous, I would struggle with that. Okay.
Okay.
If it was a PT Cruiser, or if I'm going to shit all over
or
it,
a show car.
But I mean,
you know how much I love those, dude.
Track vehicle, show cars, the lowrider community.
Yeah.
I could get behind a stanced car.
Yeah.
Even a Subaru build, right? I mean, and I'm not talking about.
Sorry, Max.
I'm not talking about Max. I'm not talking about Brendan. Right? They're building like
Real
Subarus that have a purpose, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking about a Subaru WRX that somebody is building to cruise around town in, right?
They're building a rally car that's never going to see any rally.
No, they're not even building that.
Okay.
They're building
Cambered
a tuner car that is not going to do anything except drive on the street.
No, there's one thing it does really well. It's really nice to have the giant anime women on the side.
No.
That's the one thing it will do well.
They're called weebs, bro.
There you go. With waifus.
Can't go with weebs.
I can
Sorry, weebs.
I can get behind almost any build.
Okay. And push it.
I'm with Ian on the dangerous shit though.
Yeah.
We used to be a little dangerous in high school besides the shenanigans we would do. But the thing with us, we all had bugs and stuff. So we would be going to the junkyards and finding temporary tires.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What's a temporary tire? Oh, you mean like the...
Throwaways.
Okay.
Yeah. And you could run those on the front of a bug and really get them low on the ground.
Yep.
You know, and they look like a low profile tire that was like 4 inches wide. They look pretty sweet.
Sure.
You know,
but you're like donuts, you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's awesome. But your headlights weren't pointing at, the North Star.
No, but we get pulled. People would get pulled over all the time. Like my buddies, we'd ride around and we get pulled over because the headlights were 22 inches above or whatever the law was. Something stupid.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Back then?
Yeah. But like, driving on the freeway at 70 miles an hour in those little bugs with the temporary tires up front.
It was sketch.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's fun. I get what you're saying. I drove some sketch cars, guys. I'm not going to say I'm like innocent here.
Mm-hmm.
I drove 80s Corollas that were just ridiculously mangled put together because I just
Yeah.
You know, I threw them together. I cobbled them together. Stuff was cheap and it was fun.
Yeah, but 80 Scroll had the spirit of Takumi in them.
It did. This was even before I even knew about that stuff, so I'm that old for the listeners. Yeah, no, it's like I didn't do something that was like just for looks. Like I always wanted to do it for somewhat of performance, I guess.
Functionality.
But it looked like crap, and most people looked at it and were like, that looks like shit.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you drive a car like that?
Let's go back to the truck.
Yeah.
Right? I don't like the way they sit factory.
Why?
Mhm.
And it's not that they're not lifted or anything like that, right? If you look at most modern trucks from the side, from the factory, they need a 2-inch lift kit in the front in order to make them level.
You're saying they're so rigged.
They're all done that way on purpose. They
A
have been
leveling
since
kit.
like the
Since the 90s.
late 80s.
Yeah.
They've been doing that.
That's what
It's
you
done for two reasons. It's done to keep the front bumper a little bit lower and increase your payload.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know payloads are out of control nowadays.
Yeah.
So you know, but
Wow,
yeah,
I didn't know that.
every truck deserves a 2-inch leveling kit. My truck has it, and
So,
Mine does too.
it's great.
I haven't done that yet.
yeah, I haven't done it yet either. I want to do it.
So
Your part of the reason they do it is when you put your trailer on,
Yeah, it levels it out
levels
or
it.
helps it.
one thing I want to know,
Makes sense.
big time I want to know, is with the newer Fords, for example. So my truck is an XLT, second level up versus the XL. And with those, it's on a normal, basic strut on coil suspension.
Yeah. McPherson.
Thank you. Limited and Lariat and up, and including all 2024, every model and up is on air suspension now. And I want to know how they sit.
they're going to sit the same. They will sit the same.
But you should be able to, if not, go into the,
Yeah, you could code it and adjust the right height.
and just have it the way you want to sit.
The front is not on airbags.
I'd prefer
Only the back.
McPherson.
No, fronts and airbags.
I don't think
Really?
so.
I haven't heard of that.
I'd prefer McPherson
But I
if
could be
it was the
wrong.
choice because it's going to last
We
way
should.
longer. I mean, let's look at every car or truck or SUV that's come up with airbags from the factory. Most people are replacing with McPherson style stuff.
Mhm.
Like my dad had a Range Rover, it was supercharged, whatever it is, LR2, whatever it might have been. I don't know. But anyway, it had, air suspension from the factory. We put McPherson stuff on it eventually because it was so expensive to fix.
Mm-hmm.
So as
And
cool as
it
it
goes
is
bad.
new, it goes bad. And it's way too expensive to fix.
So I would venture to guess, Grant, as you're looking at these, it's probably in the rear. They're probably still leaf spring with airbags. And I would venture to guess that you're probably coilovers on the front.
It could be coil on the back. The new Dodges are coil on the back.
Yeah,
Whoa.
that's true. But
Yeah.
I don't think the Super Duties are yet. I don't
I don't know either. I don't follow the Fords as much.
I don't know if the Dodge heavy duty stuff is like that.
It
I
is.
know for sure the 1500s are, but
Yeah, the 3/4 ton and up are
are they?
coil in the
What
back.
year?
That's kind of like the big thing. I don't know the exact year they changed over. I want to say when they switched to body styles, which was in 2022 or something.
So they have
Something
a
like that.
Yeah, I know.
3-link or something? 3-link
Something like that. 3 or 4. Yeah.
coil?
Yeah.
I got one out front. We can check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got
Yeah,
like a
my-
24.
What year is yours? 2024.
Yeah, my
It's a work truck, but
But you have coils in the back.
I haven't looked. Now that you mention, I want to go look.
Oh,
It-
yeah, me
it's
too.
a work truck, bro.
we're going to do a field
You
trip.
know,
Is it a 3500?
it's a 2500.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I've got the 2023 F250 outside. You compare that to.
Oh, we got them all.
Mm-hmm.
We got the lineup.
Should've brought my
2018
truck.
F-250.
What do you got?
An old Dodge.
Dodge.
I have an old Chevy. I have an old GMC. But man, I love it. I will never get rid of it.
Yeah.
2002.
I have a Cummins 4-door. It's a beast.
Sick.
Yeah, it's crazy, but
Yeah.
So
it's a little obnoxious.
is it a 12 valve? 24 valve.
24.
It is a 24
So you're
valve.
telling me you overbuilt it?
I didn't do anything to it really. Well, I've done maintenance to it, and I just put like an intake horn on it recently, but it's got a tuner and intake and exhaust and all that stuff.
That sounds
Mm.
sick.
So
Yeah.
he recently lost all power in this thing?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a power stroke.
No. He lost all power, and what you found was the intake horn that you replaced was
Yeah.
plastic.
Yeah.
Really?
So, somebody. Okay. I can't find the manufacturer. I can't find any information on this, but somebody in their somehow in their mind, they decided to build an intake that's going to bolt up to a heavy steel hot engine that literally bolts to a heater grid.
Yeah.
There's a heater grid right there. Okay, it gets red hot.
Yeah.
Seriously?
It's the preheat. Yeah, there's no glow plugs on Cummins. They have a heater grid.
I didn't know that.
So that's what preheats the engine. And somebody designed a plastic horn that bolts to that. And over time, it melted. And so I started throwing some codes, and I wasn't getting any boost. And I started doing leak tests. And I was doing leak tests all over the place, looking at all the boots and everything. And I couldn't find anything. I'm like, what in the world? So just for fun, I started spraying it on the intake horn. And
I've got the best idea ever right now.
You want a 3D printed intake horn?
Yeah, but instead of like actually just saying 3D printed of plastic, send it to one of those companies we said that make it out of metal.
Well, I got the best one that money can buy, and it was, $350 or $400 or something.
Nice.
With rigorous testing. So
Nice.
That's another thing. If you guys are into diesels, look into Banks stuff, because Banks is like the only company that I've found that actually does the proper R&D, and then they can back it up.
They make gas stuff too.
Yeah, they do, and they don't only do the R&D; they compare it to other products.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is
Gale Banks was an engineer.
Yeah, he is, and he's still doing all the YouTube videos and everything, and doing all these comparisons. That's
really
how I found out about all this stuff.
Yeah,
and it's like you can go on eBay and get something for $80, and I'm just like, man, I don't know about all that.
He does like LS twin turbo kits that are awesome.
Yeah, he does a lot of stuff with the Duramax stuff and the Power Strokes too.
Yeah.
Smart guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's cool as shit.
They've been doing it since the 60s, and they've had several manufacturer deals over the time. I think they were the first to put the turbos on the 6.5 Chevys in the early 80s or something like that.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Great.
Okay. Now that we're done with the dude bro trucks.
Oh, we'll never be done with the Dubro trucks. My baseball cap is backwards right now.
I am still not 100% you know what that means.
I know, your explanation was a little off, bro.
Yeah, I got to figure out what my definition is then.
You need to go look at them.
Well, okay, you're coming with me then.
I will point out what a dude bro truck is, and I will point out what is a usable truck. Yes.
Okay. So then, can we finish on that then? Because we brought up at the very
beginning. Oh, yeah, we were finished 10 minutes ago.
I was going to ask, what's the best usable truck and what's the best dude bro truck? Both used and new that you can get. We never finished what that was.
What is the best usable truck?
And then the best dude bro truck.
And the best dude bro
What are we talking? Power? Capability?
Like, for example, I'd say like probably the best, let's quote unquote, if your guys' definition of a dude bro truck would be probably a new or Super Duty.
No, my brain thinks of a Ram.
Yeah.
It's a Ram.
For a dude bro truck.
Yeah, on skateboard wheels. Yeah, it's a Ram.
When I'm looking at what a dude bro truck is, it is it's lifted. It's got too much freaking chrome underneath. The guy's probably spending 6 hours cleaning it a week.
But it doesn't matter the manufacturer.
No, I don't think I don't think the manufacturer matters. I think it's more about the build.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
what did they do to it?
The parts that are put on it.
Can a dude bro truck then be also classified as something like a half ton or something like?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like
usually
all those squatted trucks are half-ton trucks.
An Avalanche or like the Hyundais, like or a Maverick.
No, never. No. I mean, maybe there's some.
Maverick's too
you're not going to see
utilitarian.
That's a mom truck.
You're not going to see a Maverick lifted yet. And first of all, that is not a truck. It is a unibody.
It's not a truck.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah,
it is a ute.
We're not going to mention that in the dude bro realm.
Yeah.
It's a car. That's a car.
Okay.
With a truck bed.
Okay. Can a dude bro truck be then like electric, say like the Hummer HV or a Lightning?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
That's much more likely.
Okay. So then what goes then do you guys think is the best quote unquote usable truck that you can get? Either like brand new or it's years old.
So do you want to know what the best usable lifted truck is? Or do you want to know what the best
Let's say lifted.
Usable. Okay.
Lifted truck.
So it's not going to be overly lifted.
Okay.
One. Probably up to 6 inch, right? It's going to be level.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to have airbags. It's not going to have stupid giant wheels with tiny little rubber band tires on it. Mm-hmm. It's going to have some meat. Mm-hmm. There's going to be some rubber meat there.
Mm-hmm.
And you're probably going to either have an all-terrain tire or a mud tire.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy that drives it, probably during hunting season, there's a rifle sitting next to him on the seat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know,
100%.
and he's not afraid to get the dang thing dirty.
No, never.
I will jump in that truck right now and drive it down any fucking logging road.
Okay.
I mean, my 02 Sierra, I drive it across the country right now. It's a leveled 2500 6.0 Vortec. Like, I would literally drive it to the East Coast right now.
But if you pull up, let's say I pull up to a logging road and a dude bro truck is sitting there ready to follow me, right? We drive out somewhere. They're probably not going to drive out that road.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to want to clean all of that mud off. He's going to park that truck.
Or
He's going
buff
to
the
try to jump
scratches.
in. Yeah, he's going to try to jump into your truck and ride with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a
agree.
dude bro truck.
Yeah, that's a dude bro truck.
Okay. So, usable truck, though. Do we...
Use if it's a lifted
I
truck.
feel like any truck.
Yeah.
4x4.
Leveling kit, four-wheel drive, and with
Doesn't
stock
matter.
wheels and
Doesn't matter
maybe
if
a
it's
bigger
Tacoma,
tire.
Doesn't matter if it's a Chevy. Doesn't matter if it's...
I think that 4x4 is huge, and maybe for certain people it might be taken for granted. But it's one thing I tried to explain to my wife when we were looking for a truck. I was adamant on it being 4-wheel drive. You know, you can't really tow and launch a boat around here in Oregon without a 4x4.
Yeah.
You know, I've been when I used to have my boat, I would launch sometimes down at the coast, and depending on how the tide is, man, you might get buried in a little bit of sand or mud, and
Absolutely.
you have to have 4-wheel drive to pull out. And
Yes.
and then, you know, if you get on a little bit of a slope on wet grass, you know,
Even-
it's
tires,
it's
yeah.
even
gonna
wet concrete,
spin,
man.
you know.
Yeah.
And
Mossy concrete.
we were at the coast when we first got the truck, and we pulled over off the side of the road. It was a little bit sandy, and we went to take off, and it's just like just burying
Oops,
in,
gotta lock the hubs in.
you know. And I was like, oh, click, pulled right out. And I was looking at her like, yeah, aren't you glad we got 4x4?
Yeah.
But maybe I wouldn't have pulled off there if we
Yeah.
had a
No.
2-wheel drive truck.
I-
But you know,
yeah,
the
probably
snow
not.
2-wheel drive trucks aren't going to do anything to snow. So a usable truck, it's mandatory has to be 4-wheel drive.
Good point.
Yeah.
So if you toss a little bit of weight in the back of that thing, probably not going to get stuck at the boat launch.
Not at the boat launch, but in deep snow you will.
In deep snow, yeah.
Yeah, there's at the bay, especially up like Nehalem, there's some treacherous launches, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a couple times
There's
where
probably
I'm like,
some launches that
well, I was in an SUV, so
Yeah.
there was weight on the back axle more than a truck was, and I still had to put it in 4-wheel drive. You
Yeah.
know, it was a Chevy Trailblazer.
yeah. I mean, at most boat launches around here, though.
Yeah, no, the ones local here
Inner
in the Portland
city.
area. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, but you get something.
Get some in the mountains or something like that.
Yeah, or you know, it seems like the coast on some of those smaller launches were
Or
getting
the
most
really,
headache.
really
I'm sure
flat
of it.
launch, one that doesn't have a super
that
steep,
too, yeah.
steep angle.
You got to go deep.
Yeah, you got to pull
Gotta
the
go
front
deep
tires
with
into
that-
the water.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of those.
Hmm.
100%.
Right on.
That makes sense?
Think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
All right. Where are we
Maybe
going?
we should jump ahead a little bit.
Nah,
All right.
Nah, I think we're good.
No?
Yeah?
We're good on time. It's,
Okay.
It's only 10 to 8.
All right, cool.
All right.
Just wondering.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, what made cars from TV and movies so cool?
Everything.
Seriously.
No, I have some cars that I really like because I thought about this a little bit after Rob sent it to us.
Mhm.
I thought about this a little bit. I'm like, what cars did I really like growing up that were in TV and movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I came up with the General Lee
Yeah.
because it was always in the air.
Mm-hmm.
I came up with the Ghostbusters car.
Okay.
The
So you're talking like early basics.
Yep, Back to the Future,
Marty
That's
McFly.
a big one.
the DeLorean,
Sure.
Mhm.
Or the DeLorean. Okay. I was thinking of his truck.
the 85 Toyota pickup in there. Freaking
that's what I'm
love
saying.
that truck.
Yeah, I love that.
Black
Mm-hmm.
SR5 22RE.
Mm-hmm.
It might have been an RET even.
You would hope.
Yeah,
They made turbo versions?
Yeah, they
yeah.
did.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Injected
Not very
turbo.
many.
Okay.
Not many. No.
Yeah, it was an RE, which is the EFI.
Yep.
And then it had a turbo.
Huh.
That was a rare
Single cam turbo.
Yep. That was a rare motor. Let's see what else.
My favorite, I think, is the Trans Am from Smokey and the Bandit.
Oh yeah,
that's a good one.
What an iconic
or
vehicle.
Yeah.
Kit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I watch that all the time.
Firebird, right?
Yeah.
Was that a Firebird?
I think it was a Firebird.
Yeah,
It was a Firebird, yes. Yeah.
My favorite was, did you guys ever watch The Wraith?
No.
Yeah,
It was a great movie. You
Arturo
guys
was
should
telling us we
watch
need
it.
to watch it.
It's an incredible movie.
Arturo was saying he watches it like once a year and that we need to watch it.
Dude, it's great. But in the movie, there was this vehicle called a Dodge M4S, and it was a mid-engine, long-tail. Dodge made like 4 or 5 of these things. Only like 3 made on track. There's like 2 street legal ones. It was not a production car, but it just looked awesome. And I remember watching that movie with my dad, and I'm like, oh, it was so sick. You guys should definitely check it out.
That one we have to put on the watch list.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in a whole different generation because my cars are a little bit different.
I would hope so. You're 10 years younger than me.
Right.
Yeah.
You're younger than me,
But, I mean,
too. Not by much, but still.
There's still some of those cars that were definitely influential that you guys talk about. My biggest ones have been always like Batmobiles.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Like those in cinema, you see that. Like
What's your favorite?
the Tumbler. I heavily one day want to build a replica of that car. You know, I think it's functionality. It's nuts that when they built that car, most movie cars they build and they break and they maybe use one shot.
It's a facade.
When they built the Tumbler, they used it for 80% of all stunts they did. They expected it to break and it didn't. It kept going. Like the fact that they had a movie car that is actually usable, can go 80 miles an hour and do the stunts it did and do the jumps it did and still survived.
Wow.
That's impressive.
That is impressive.
Yeah. So
that's no General Lee. I don't even know how many hundreds they destroyed of that car.
Yeah,
that
that's
TV
also
show.
true. Yeah.
You know, I remember also like the big one was any of the James Bond's cars from the 90s, especially the Z was it Z8?
Z8.
So they had the Z3, they had the Z8.
The
Yeah,
Z8
the
was-
Z3M, Z8.
and even when they had the Z3 when he was there was also what was it?
There's always been an
It was they had a
Vantage.
Ford. There was a 4-door. He did as well, and I thought that was a 7 Series.
Probably was.
Yeah, because he had his phone. He flipped out and then controlled it through the parking lot.
Huh.
Do you guys not remember that?
What do you remember? Which one it was? Was it like Casino Royale? Or?
No, it was the one with the Tomorrow Never Dies. Is the one with the media outlet person and the ship.
Huh.
You
No,
know?
I don't remember that one.
Okay, that one wasn't well known. But that in the Aston Martin, we talked about that one. That the Vanquish, the Vanish.
the Vanish.
You know,
those are amazing.
that was an amazing car
the
scene.
DB9 or whatever.
Yeah, and
DBS.
versus the Jaguar with the minigun on the back of that. I think that was one of the things, and going back to the topic on that makes cars cool is when you're watching them, you see what they can do. Yeah. The speed, the action, the explosions, the sound, the heroes like in the moment and going through it. You know, it just makes the imagination go wild of what's going on. Are you there? Am I here? Are we doing this? What's going on? You know?
What about the A-Team van?
I was just thinking about that thing.
Yeah, but you said excitement, explosion.
Oh,
and I was
exactly.
Barack.
Yeah.
You know?
I pity the fool.
Exactly.
So good.
But then also there's like another one that flows down. We've talked about this all the time. We've talked about the Jurassic Park Explorer, you know, because you see
I knew we were going to touch on this.
Exciting. You see, you know, where you're in a truck and it's just dinosaurs around and it's iconic and it's just like, that would be cool to be in that because everyone remembers that
I know
scene.
why Rob wanted us to do this show now.
It was him with the Jurassic.
It's because he's not here and he didn't have to hear Jurassic Park come out of your mouth.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Jurassic Park, but I think the vehicle was super forgettable, dude.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
bright red.
I mean, don't get me wrong. With the wheels, it looked good. It was like it was shiny, had neon colors, but it's not like it was a performance vehicle,
No,
bro.
it's not.
That is the only thing memorable about it.
Is the color.
So, is the paint scheme.
Yeah.
So there was a guy, I actually saw it on frickin' probably your fault.
Yeah.
I saw it on Instagram today. This guy painted
Lexus.
Yeah, it was an Infinity.
Infinity.
He painted this Infinity out to look just like the Ford Exploder.
Yep.
JP.
Yeah.
Except it was also he manga styled it where he drew lines on it so it was more harsh and make it look like it came from a comic book.
Okay, buddy.
Yeah.
I think we've gone a little too far there.
And he keeps talking about the Ford Explorer. in Jurassic Park. I actually think the vehicle that they were moving the dinosaurs around in
Unimog.
Oh, the
was a little bit more memorable, right?
It was sick as hell.
Yeah. That was
But they had
cool.
They had a bunch of Jeeps in there too, didn't they?
Yeah,
they did.
Yeah.
I would actually argue and say that the even as much as I love Explorer, because I also grew up with Explorers, that's another big reason. I would say the Jeep is more iconic.
I think it was like a Unimog style vehicle. It was a 6x6. They had a trailer tongue on it, right?
With the Raptor on the back.
Yeah, it was sick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, the big one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Now I understand.
Yeah. But the fact is, like, there's a lot of growing up and being on TV and movie and, like, watching it. There's things that just influence you growing up and spark the love for cars.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break.
Yeah.
Okay.
Down.
Sweet. Woo. And we're back.
Yeah, without you knowing.
Perfect.
Oh, okay. Perfect. And his name is John Cena. Boo, 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 boo.
Did you see the video this week that I sent you?
Which one?
It did the John Cena music. John Cena, and this car tries to go between a truck and this other car, and it fucking hits both of them, flips over on the roof of the car, and the car swerves to the side and tosses him off this bridge.
Oh my gosh.
God. Good timing.
Yeah, it was hilarious. Like, dude, fuck around and find out, I guess.
Jeez.
Huh?
All right.
And we're back.
I don't know if we were done with the movie cars.
That's what I was saying. I didn't think we were.
so.
I don't know.
The next question is current media doing cars justice?
Yeah, that was a big thing. Because, like, if you watch any TV shows right now, like, it used to be a lot of time, it was the advertisement for the car, look what it does, and here it is, and, blah, you know.
What movie did we just go see?
We saw Twister, and it was essentially a Dodge commercial.
Was it?
Yeah.
Wow.
The main, like, car
every car in there was Dodge.
Yeah.
Even the
Somebody's
old
gonna
truck.
pay us.
Was that
old
the original Twister?
No,
No,
it was
the new
it's
one.
a
Twister.
sequel, bro.
So I think in the original it was Dodge too, wasn't
Was
it?
It was, yeah.
I
That was
believe
the
so,
original
yeah.
Twister vehicle.
Yeah.
I know the original Twister truck was a Dodge.
Yeah.
It was a Gen 2, they call it, right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
It was interesting in this movie because it was literally the bad guys, which were the heroes, but bad guys, whatever. TRX followed by a Jeep, like with a Trackhawk, followed by another Trackhawk Jeep, followed by, what was the last one? A Dodge van.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what the motorhome
It all
was.
The
checks
motorhome
out.
was a Dodge,
It was
followed
probably
by
a Dodge. Yeah, whatever Dodge they supply for like a Prevost or whatever it might have been.
Dodge Jamboree.
The one thing that threw me off there was a one point where they're racing towards the tornadoes, and I was like, okay, can a Dodge diesel really outdrive a Hellcat TRX?
No.
And that,
No.
I mean,
Well-
my God, no.
No.
That's what Hollywood's for, bro.
that's what I'm saying.
Well,
You
no,
know,
wait a
if I
minute.
had to say that there would be any better performance out of those two trucks, I would say stopping power. I would say the Dodge Diesel would stop faster because I've heard
sure.
nothing but bad about the brakes on the TRX.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's
So-
probably a 1500 as far as style brakes.
You know,
and you
yeah,
got
it could
700
be.
horse.
And I think maybe on the latest rendition, they have upgraded the brakes to fix that problem. But the original ones that came out had really crappy brakes. Like the truck wouldn't stop.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But-
I believe it.
But kind of like we were saying, movie magic in that one, I think caught, like, this is a cool truck. Look what these trucks are doing. They're going and chasing tornadoes. All the lights are going off and all the sound and, you know. As we were saying, is current media doing that? I think other than this movie, I'm trying to think of other things recently that was like either a TV show or movie or whatever that you saw as like, that was cool. That action scene was awesome. I mean, we know Fast and Furious movies, like the sequel movies.
I was going to jump ahead.
Yeah.
I was going to jump ahead a little bit.
Okay.
I mean,
Going
I
off what
think
you
the
said.
older ones, the older Fast and the Furious
Oh, they were
movies,
incredible.
100%.
I mean, Fast and Furious 1, and
Never
I want to
seen
say
Fast and Furious.
3. 1 and 3, they like more emphasized on the cars themselves. And yeah, I'm at that generation. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm aging myself.
yeah, I'm with you, though.
Okay,
I like
no,
the first three.
one. The second sucked. I mean, come on, it was like
Tokyo
was it
Drift?
Tyrese. No. Second was Fast Furious 2. It was
Oh, Too Fast, Too Furious. It was down in Florida.
Ejectocito, cuz I think that was the line.
Ejectocito, kid.
Yeah, I mean, that's funny, right?
Yeah.
But it was a terrible car movie. But 1 and 3,
But they
actually
had cool
some good
cars.
shit. Not really, man.
They had
Were the cars doing cool things?
R32 Skyline,
They had R34,
R34 Skyline.
and then he brought it back for like 4 or 5 or something. But anyways, 1 and 3 are like the only ones that are like worth watching as far as like cars, because they were more like about building the car and using the car. It was fun.
And in
Made it
those
fun.
in those two
And
movies,
I feel like that made the whole movement.
Yeah.
It's stronger. Those two.
in those two movies,
Mhm.
Fast and the Furious and Fast 3 or whatever.
Tokyo Drift.
Tokyo Drift.
Yep.
Those two movies, there are 3 car cultures. 4 car
4.
cultures.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think Fast and the Furious had one. It had the tuner car culture type stuff.
Okay.
With one muscle car.
Yep, and one muscle car.
There was one muscle car.
And then in Tokyo Drift, I think there were 3.
Muscle cars.
No, well,
Oh.
kind of. Yeah, there was.
It was a hybrid.
I'm just gonna say I am very, very, very limited in Fast and Furious because I haven't seen them. I do know Too Fast, Too Furious opening scene with the Viper and the Nova.
There was a Viper in 3 too. There was a Viper
Fast,
in the race
Too Fast,
at
Too
the high
Furious had
school.
a
Tokyo Drift?
Viper?
There was a high school race.
Yeah.
In 3. That's
That's 3.
That's 3.
That's not the second one?
No.
Oh, okay. Then that one I saw.
No,
I've never seen these movies. Just that was the only clip I've seen.
You're talking about 3. Yeah.
Too Fast, Too Furious started with the R34.
Yeah, it did.
And he was driving around the country racing people and then got to Florida.
Yeah, you're right.
Interesting.
That's facts.
So when the first one came out, I got a kind of a cool story. But I grew up in Rancho Cucamonga, in Southern California, and that's where I went to high school and stuff and everything. And there was plans to build this big freeway, through these towns, Pomona, Pasadena, Rancho Cucamonga, Rialto, Fontana, connecting it out to San Bernardino. And it was built during the time that they were filming the first Fast and Furious.
Oh,
and
really?
they did a lot of filming on that new freeway before they opened it up.
Oh, that's cool.
And this freeway ran right through my town. And they opened that freeway up and word was already out that they did some filming there on that movie. And that movie came out and it was really big in Southern California. And I'd really think it helped kind of ignite the tuner, segment down there or whatever. But that freeway, was something else when it first opened because there was no traffic on it.
Yeah.
It was so crazy that they were having flat out, like full on street drags out there on the freeway in the middle of the night.
Oh, yeah.
And you could get out there and pretty much run wide open. That was the fastest I've ever been on a motorcycle before on that freeway stretch. And it got nicknamed by the news, the Southern California Autobahn, and it's still to this day a really fast freeway.
I read something about that, yeah.
Yeah, it's still to this day a really fast freeway. And, but yeah, it was kind of cool. They filmed parts of that movie on that freeway, and it was really close to where, I was growing up.
That's
as a
cool.
kid
That's
and stuff.
freaking awesome.
Yeah.
So, like with the new Fast and Furious movies, do they still capture the imagination of fast cars, cool cars, or what a car is?
You know what I'm thinking, Ian.
I don't know.
Exactly what you're thinking.
I don't know.
No.
No?
Agreed.
1 through 3,
Yes.
decent movies.
Okay.
Dude, even 4 wasn't bad.
Yeah, 4 wasn't awful, and then they jumped the shark.
They did.
But is the cars specifically in those movies?
No.
They don't even capture it.
There are cars in every one of those movies,
But they don't know
but they totally got away from the car culture
Mhm.
and went to battle royale shit.
And they didn't touch
Okay.
on it. They never touched on the build, the engine,
Right.
or how they made it, or it was like, this is this guy's car, and they like identified the cars with the people or the characters
Mhm.
in the movies like they did in 1 through 3
Mhm.
or 4. There was a couple in 4. It wasn't nearly as cool, but that's what happened. Is it was just literally like, I have a cool car, and then we're doing a stunt scene now.
Okay.
And so, like, after 4, it just became this total debacle and straight up, basically superhero movie.
I think that there had to have been different writers.
Oh, for sure.
I'm going to have to research this, but I think the writers changed.
We could search it right now, bro, but I
Yeah.
know for a fact you're right.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they're totally different. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
hmm
And
It was terrible.
I really enjoyed the first 3. 1 and 3, definitely my favorites. 2, I could even get behind, right?
I even liked the story on 4.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
did.
One of these days, me
It
and
was
Rob.
called Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
4 had a great storyline, and it didn't have as much car stuff, but it was a good story.
One of these days, me and Rob actually need to sit down and actually see it. So,
No.
no? No?
Don't waste your time.
Oh.
No, I think he should.
I want to see it because we're getting that T-shirt made says you're not Fast and Furious in an Xbox.
I feel like if you guys watched it together, you would just eat it up or tear it apart. Whereas if you guys watched it like on solo time, like lay down time, like I'm on the couch.
I
movie.
also don't think you need to sit and watch them all in a row because there's freaking 10 of them.
There's 10.
No idea.
I think there's 10. Fast X was the last one. Or
That's
10.
a huge franchise.
Yeah,
it's a superhero film at this point.
right.
Multiverse.
And a lot of them,
it probably will be.
A lot of them tie back together later on, right? They tie back together.
That's the only thing that keeps people watching.
I know, really. That is, and like I said, I think there's different writers. 1 and 3. Definitely
so good.
tie together.
So good.
And then there's some later on, obviously, that tie back together. One of my favorite characters dies in 3.
Yeah.
And later on in the series, he's still around.
Very good.
Right?
Great character.
Yes.
So let's switch up franchises if you guys don't mind, because I'm not too into Fast and Furious or know about it. But like one thing I think we all know, and we touched on this briefly at the beginning, was the Batmobile. We say everyone in this room knows what that is and seen their version.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the one in the 60s first. So
if we're the one thing I was going to say is we said is movies nowadays in media still doing it justice. Have you guys seen the new quote unquote? The movie's called The Batman.
Yeah,
it was in theaters.
Loved it.
No, Jeremy, did you see it? Okay, so the new one. That Batmobile was a 1969 Charger, right?
It was a Mopar.
Yeah. It was a Charger with built suspension. And, I mean, we're talking if you were to build a car that you would think would be something a crime fighter would build, I think they did a really good job.
They did a great job.
Yeah. And I would say, like, a movie like that, that captured the essence of what a cool car is, what a car does.
No, I agree with you. I feel like the Batman did a very good job with the car. I think they did a great job with the feel of Batman. You know, not to go off subject, but my favorite Batman vehicle, Batmobile, rather, is Michael Keaton in Batman Forever.
With the jet.
With the turbine on the front.
Yeah.
I mean, my God, that thing looks badass. It was long.
Gosh, I remember
it was elongated front end, almost it almost looked like a Jag E-Type, didn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I loved that about it. I thought it looked freaking nuts. And I remember hearing it, the sound effect. Of course, it didn't. It might have sounded like that, but it fired up and it was like whoosh.
Yeah.
I think it actually was a turbine car.
I think you're right.
Yeah, and they gave it away or something. They had a raffle or something.
Didn't
some guy got it? Yeah.
Didn't the new Dodge car that had a jet engine in the back? Didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was. They really sick.
They made a car that had a jet engine.
Yeah.
In the back, yeah.
But
they've done that a few times. Dodge had.
Are you talking about the Batmobile or the Dodge?
No, we're talking about Dodges in general. They've made cars with jets in them in the 60s too.
Yeah.
I think it was older than that even.
It might have been 50s.
Yeah, 50s or something.
But what I was getting at was like, okay, so me and Ian are talking about the Batmobile and you guys haven't seen that, but comparative to say Batman versus Superman, that's relatively new. It came out. I would say that car is memorable.
It's not memorable.
And and it actually looks more like the Michael Keaton Batmobile, but it didn't do anything in the film. It just kind of was there.
It just existed.
Yeah. But you get these scenes where it was like the Batman, the Tumbler, Michael Keaton, like where like it was so iconic because of the things it would do and the emotion it would bring and the action,
I agree. And you're right. Even though Batman vs. Superman I honestly liked the movie. And I honestly liked Batfleck. I liked him. Mm-hmm. But he didn't do anything in the car.
Yeah.
It was just, I'm driving it from here to here.
Machine gun point up.
It wasn't very fun,
Yeah.
I think my favorite Batman vehicle is the Batwing, the little plane.
Oh yeah.
And that was in which movie was that in?
That was in
the Michael Keaton. It was in that one for sure.
It was in Forever.
Yeah.
Yes, with the
I don't know, but I know it was in the original Michael Keaton one because the Joker pulls out that 4-foot long revolver and shoots it down.
I remember that.
Yeah, you're right. I thought it was in the one with Two-Face and Tommy Lee Jones.
That's kind of what I think they brought it back.
They brought it back. It was Tommy Lee Jones and
Michael Keaton.
That was Batman and Robin. Batman and Robin, they called it.
Yeah, that's what it was.
But no,
Jim
they
Carrey.
brought it back. They brought it back
for that one. That's why I
But
remember.
the one they were talking about was incredible. Batman Returns.
Yeah.
Batman Returns. So good.
Yeah. But here's another thing we talked about earlier with KITT, and that's an iconic car in the series going that.
Yeah.
I'm betting no one in this room remembers KITT from 2008.
Oh, I remember it.
Do you remember it?
Oh, the TV show?
Yeah.
Oh, come on, buddy.
Knight Rider was rebooted in 2008, and it was using a Ford Mustang.
I loved it.
Oh, no.
I loved the show.
Yeah.
I thought the show was terribly cheesy and good.
Really?
Is this on Netflix?
I thought it was awful.
Huh.
But I liked it. I watched it because I liked Knight Rider.
Yeah.
I never really. I remember seeing it. Maybe
It was
I
one.
was really
It was
young.
a season. It was like 6 episodes. It was a pilot, and it didn't do well.
they had it where the Mustang would transform into Knight Rider, and when they transformed and turned into a 2008 GT 500 KR, which had the snorkels in the front, and the light would go between the snorkels.
Yeah,
That's
he's 100% correct.
Yeah.
It didn't last long. It was a terrible
So then,
attempt at a reboot.
why would that? You think that didn't catch as much
Well, I think that it
as
was
like the original?
Well, people are simple, and I don't think there's, if it's not on prime time or there wasn't streaming back then, so it's hard to promote something at that point. 2008.
I didn't think they advertised it well enough.
they didn't at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew about it because
I never heard about it.
you never even heard about it, Mike.
Yeah.
So it's like I remember hearing about it because my brother loved Mustangs.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, this Mustang show, shit, whatever. But yeah,
But
I watched every episode because he's like, let's watch it. We had DVR at the time.
Mm,
And that was like the thing. And we could DVR it because we had to go to sleep.
yeah.
Here in-
What year did this come out?
2008. I'm pretty sure it was around then. I was still in
about
high
that time.
school.
It was about
But
that time.
but the one thing I was going to say was with that car, when you say KITT, you think 1980. That the first thing in mind. What is it?
Firebird.
Black Firebird, right?
Yeah, it's a Pontiac.
If you were to say KITT now, I would say probably maybe one out of every 25,000, 50,000 people would say Mustang.
Riley might say Mustang, right?
Maybe, but it's I'm even people who are my age would still know KITT is that black old car from the 80s.
100%.
Yeah. Do you guys think there's a movie car that should never be touched?
Like never modified or
Like, for example,
don't make it again.
Well,
like if they ever made a Back to the Future movie again, if they didn't use the DeLorean, it was something else.
Mike, what do you got?
Oh,
Well, the Bullet, the Mustang Bullet.
Oof.
That's an untouchable. Should
Mhm.
never be changed.
100%.
But it is. I mean, we've had 3 or 4 different iterations of it, though.
But it's always been a green fastback.
yeah. So you think if they put in
You can't
Mustang
make a Bullet movie with an orange Charger.
okay,
Yes, 100%. It has to be a fastback Mustang.
That's green.
yeah.
That's green. Good
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
what about a Herbie?
Oh, God.
No,
yeah,
they did. They rebooted Herbie,
But
and
it
used
was-
the newer version of the Bug.
Did they use? I thought it was still
And
the
you
classic one.
remember the old Herbie movies? They used to rally the shit out of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
would jump it and all the kinds. It was awesome.
You
can't
really
do that
could
with
jump
these
those
new
things.
ones. They were crap.
It's true.
You know.
It was a Jetta.
You know why they put the motor in the front of those instead of in the back?
I'm gonna guess for cost.
No.
Mhm.
So the newer Vita Bug,
Mhm.
when they designed them and built them, they tried to put them in the back. They were pulling wheelies.
I'll bet
That's
they were.
funny.
Wow.
It's like, dude, I'd buy one of those.
I was thinking it's
Hell yeah.
packaging.
Can I get one of those instead?
Where is this?
Seriously,
I want to know where the concept car is because I want to play with it.
That'd be fun to do that.
Well, and like Porsche made a.
Baja.
They made like a Baja thing. It was lifted up as 4-wheel
Mhm.
drive
They
Beetle
call it
body.
Safari. That's what
Safari.
It was a
Yeah.
safari car, but I'm just saying it was like it was called like the B, or I don't know what it's called. It was something R at the end, and it was an all-wheel drive Beetle, and it was an incredible car. I mean, it was
Wasn't
Quattro Beetle
Yeah.
with
yeah.
with a
wasn't it
ton
the
of boost. It was a flat 6 too. It was crazy.
I think it was the Desert something. I remember when I was Volkswagen. I remember they had one come in.
Yeah.
It was brown.
Well, I mean, it wasn't a production car; it was just a concept. But I mean, my God, it was an incredible car.
Mm.
I remember watching, and you could actually use it on Gran Turismo 4
Yeah.
in the game.
Interesting.
That's awesome.
But
you guys,
yeah.
You guys seen the off-road Lamborghini?
Oh, I have.
Yeah.
Which one? The Urus?
No, they took a car and lifted it a little bit. And
it's a
Gallardo,
Gallardo, and it's a Safari edition from factory.
Oh, see, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's sold out like in the first week or something.
If you can Safari any car, I'm down.
Yeah.
That makes a different car.
It's true in that one.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. Any like road going car or cool like on road car, if you lift it and put it on mud tires, I'm in.
Yeah.
That's a cool car.
Agreed.
Yeah. What does it take to build a movie car?
A lot of money and a lot of imagination.
Yeah.
You know, I wonder actually talking about that, building it, I wonder actually how many movie cars are actually built versus just they're rendered on the computer.
I bet you see a lot of them rendered now.
Yeah, nowadays. Yeah.
You might get a cockpit built and then the rest is CG'd in.
Yeah.
What I've read about most of them, like anything you see like a McLaren, is actually a tube chassis V8 car, that front engine, even, that they just put a body on, a shell on, and then
because they're too expensive.
And then they flip it 20 times down the mountain, right? And that's what I've read about most of them, especially if they need camera gear, because they have to mod them so much for camera gear that they just build them out. It's just tube chassis, you know. And then they have 10 of them because they're going to flip them. Yeah,
exactly. What's crazy, I was to say, was even with the cars that are built to look like those, the ones that are the 3D digital ones, and even the ones that like we said that are, you know, V8 tube chassis, whatever, people are building the real versions of those, though. The lights. He's saying, flip the light switch.
First,
we're breaking the third wall. There we go. Anyways,
light switch.
Yes. Oh, wrong one.
Wrong one. The second one down.
Yeah, that's the fan. Nope, wrong one. Wrong lever, crunk. Anyways, what's amazing is people are actually taking these that were, you know, either digital or not really existing partially, and they're building real cars of it. You go to a show and you see replica movie cars made, you know, and that's insane. You know, I think honestly, and then cycling back, I think a lot of it's possible because of 3D printing that is, you know, people have been able to make these cars. Like the Warthog from Halo. That's never existed in real life. And yet you can Google search it and people are building them like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing people build all kinds of cars, and it's always off a tube chassis now. I mean, you can, you know, there's guys that are building like, you know, old Spider Porsche 1940s replicas, you know what I mean? And they're just bending them out of sheet metal and putting them on a modern Boxster chassis. I mean, there is no limit to what people are doing now with their skills. Yeah. If you have the skills, you can build any car you want. It's going to take you years, but you can do it.
Yeah. And if you don't have the skills, you can build skills. And I think YouTube is a huge part of that.
100%.
With
good
pushing,
call.
Big one.
With kind of pushing this trend or whatever, where, hey, you know, I don't know how to weld or bend too, but there's 100,000 YouTube videos on how to do it.
Or I can buy an English wheel for $200.
Yeah.
And I'm going to beat on some, you know, some steel and figure out how to do it.
Yep.
And it's crazy because everybody's like, oh, there's not enough people doing like real life stuff. There's not enough people doing this anymore. We're losing people. No, I find there's a lot of people. If you look on the internet, a lot of people are doing real life stuff, building cars. I don't think it's a lost art. In fact, I think it's probably thriving over how it was 7-8 years ago.
Yeah.
Ever since COVID, let's be honest.
Yeah.
You don't agree with that?
I know. We've talked about this in the past.
We have.
Which is the fact of like, that might be true that the people are learning more skills, but I think the environment in the area to work and learn to build is not there. We have more people being in apartments, and that's limiting space. Shop is not included in school anymore.
Or they don't have a friend with a lift.
No one with a lift. If you're trying to even just go work at a shop, they won't hire you without so many years, or unless you know, been friends of friends, and maybe.
That's very valid.
So I think the information definitely is being spread around. But I think the execution of it is something, a whole different story.
Yeah, it's just true. It's the information's there. You know, I talk about this with my wife sometimes. I'm like, man, there's so many realms of life that we don't even know. We don't even have a clue about.
Yeah.
You know, because we're not on the internet searching for it, right? But if you go search for it, you'll be like, oh my gosh, this is a whole other world here.
A rabbit hole.
Of whatever. You know, it could be cars, guns, you know, RC cars, helicopters, you know, private flying, bush flying. There's just so many,
There is,
aspects and realms to life. And some people don't explore it even sometimes if they're kind of in that realm, like you might have a motorcycle rider that's not aware of the proper way to brake or adjust his chain or do something. So I see your point where, I don't know. I strongly believe the information's out there. Maybe it's just not being used or applied. 100% the way it could be,
What you just said, the information is out there. I mean, you'll be masters of what they do, and they've never watched a YouTube video. And they've shown me things that I'm like, gosh, you're good at this. You know what I mean? And they just like, oh, whatever. What's YouTube? And then you got guys like us who are like, man, I'd like to do that someday. And we don't have the space or tools or time to do everything we want, right? Like I work on cars. I do my thing. But I'd like to do other stuff, but I don't have the space to do it all.
Yeah, for sure.
I've got the best example for it. I love you, Antonio, but you're being brought up right now.
Uh-oh.
He has a Mustang, has a rack and pinion needs to put a place on it. We're at my shop. I have the facility for him to work on it. Say, tools say, this is going to be your project. You're working on this. If you absolutely need my help, I will be there. But until I am positive you're at your wit's end, I'm not helping you. Oh, it's easy. I've been looking all week on YouTube. I've been looking at multiple videos. Says it's going to be a 30-minute job. Something like that.
6 hours later.
That's impressive.
He was
and a flat forehead.
Convinced going through it. It was about 2.5 hours of him working on the first tie rod before I decided to step over and give him some help. And I'm like, here, let me show you what's done. And then I left him for another 2.5 hours for the next one. He's like, I don't understand. They make it so easy online. And then I'm like, exactly.
That's why we're not online, bro. We're in real life.
And that's where we go. We're saying, you can learn it online, but until you put practical fest and your hands on it, I wouldn't say everything's one-to-one, apples to apples.
You're right. And one thing that I've learned recently with my kids is, because I always have my kids try to help me, build stuff or if I'm working on RCs and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Dad.
There's a huge process to learning how to use tools.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just putting a screw in a screwdriver. You could cup your finger on the end to hold the screw and the screwdriver at the same time, so you could use one hand to put it in. There's certain little tricks, that I've been wrenching on stuff since I was 14 or 15 on cars and stuff, whatever, and then doing the RCs even before that. So using hand tools for me is just natural now. I don't even think about it. But when you're teaching somebody new, you're like, oh, just put that screw in that hole. You wouldn't think about it, right? But you watch them do it and you're like, oh, wow. You don't know how to use a screwdriver.
Yeah.
Or 100%. You don't know how to hold that screw while you're holding the screwdriver.
Yep.
And so
absolutely,
there's a lot of people out there that just don't know how to use the tools and don't realize that, oh, if I got to put my hand like this,
I will play devil's advocate though, because I work with tools every day and I have met young people, women, men included, where I'm like, how'd you learn this stuff? Because they're very talented and they're like, nobody taught me. I've just been learning it in what we're doing, this trade. And I'm like, it's shocking. Yet you'll meet people who are like, oh, I worked on my car my whole life. I know how to do shit. And they don't know how to do anything.
Yeah. So
it is literally person based. It's soul based.
It is.
You have to know.
It's 100% because in my line of work, I sometimes I go through training. So, and I have this thing that, typically, a person might last a year or two.
You got to read on them, you're saying.
Every time that a person leaves, I acquire something new from them.
Absolutely.
Something's, weird that they did if they loaded a machine a certain way or moved something up a certain way in a certain position. I'm like, oh, well, that was way easier. I never thought about that. I've been doing this for 10 plus years or whatever, and I've never done that before. And you've been here 2 weeks and
you figured it out.
You're showing me an easier way to do something. So, no, it's totally soul based or
you're right. It is soul based.
Whatever.
It's your will, right? I feel like it's a will thing with your person. Doesn't matter if it's man, woman, doesn't matter.
Yeah. So willpower is another huge part of working on cars too, because sometimes you may get into a project and get very frustrated and be like, man, I just can't do this, and I've almost come to situations like that before, and I just step back and I go, you know what? Another man made this, and it's all just nuts and bolts.
I've had,
or maybe it's time to eat some food real quick.
Yeah, that too. But when they tell yourself that and mentally prep yourself, then it makes the project a lot easier.
I've had so many times where I've had friends come over to the shop and we work on projects, and if it goes south, And because a lot of times it does, for whatever reason, they start onto it and they don't know what they're doing, or just something breaks that they weren't expecting it.
Like
and
an
they're
exhaust system?
like an exhaust system. Love you, Jared, but
let's talk about this exhaust system for a minute.
let's talk about Gilligan. Okay, so
we dubbed the shop Gilligan's Island,
yeah,
and the car was the SS Minnow.
yeah.
So
Jared came in for a 3-hour tour,
yeah,
a 2-bolt
he
exhaust swap.
was doing a catback exhaust.
Yeah.
By the time we were done breaking bolts, we were back to the turbo.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Every fucking time we got to another joint, we broke another bolt.
Okay.
Right? All the way back to the turbo.
But bolts are easy.
So-
I can break a bolt.
Okay.
Unless they're welded flange, welded studs. Okay, I was going to say, okay, now that's a different story.
Let me go into the details on this one.
Yeah, and then I'm going to give you a bunch of shit here in a minute.
Yeah, I know you are. So Jared brings in this Fiesta, and we're doing a cat back on it, okay? And he's doing his own thing. I'm working on my Mustang. All
Base
good.
model?
There's ST.
I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. Of course it's an ST.
You know, and, 2-bolt, easy. He's having a problem with 1 bolt. He says, I can't get him, putting all my strength in it. He says, Grable, we come over here to bust it loose. And I say, you're giving me permission to use Grant strength on this.
By the way, this is not what I'm going to give him shit for.
Okay. And he says, yes. I'm like, okay, just verifying this. Because we already put petrol and put some heat onto it, whatever. So I give it the old Grant strength, snaps bolt. I'm thinking, okay, no big deal, whatever. We'll just drill out, put something onto it. He starts sweating bullets because he realizes in order to do that, it's a flex hose exhaust onto that one. It's got to go all the way to the turbo. In order to do, yeah,
there were 2 more spots before we got to the turbo.
So that
we broke 3 bolts.
So
It really doesn't matter. I mean, you're breaking shit and it's over from there.
So that bolt went to the cat, which then led to the turbo. Okay, but regardless, to get to that, you had to take most of the engine, including the intake manifold, the headlights, everything to get to it. It was insane.
No headlights.
No, you had to remove the headlights.
No.
I will bet you money on that.
I don't remember doing that.
This was after you left.
No.
Yes.
I'm the one that fixed it.
What do you mean you fixed it?
This is what I'm going to give you shit about, Mr. Mechanic.
Okay, I'm going to hear this one.
So, remember the part, the down pipe that came out of the back of the motor?
Yes.
The back of the turbo.
Okay. After the turbo bolt had broke off.
Okay, because I remember fixing that.
Okay.
Okay.
That down pipe that goes back to the cat.
Yeah.
You couldn't get it out.
That I do remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
You and Jared fucked around with it for like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And finally, I think you had to take a shit. So they ended up...
Sounds about right, bro.
That's all right.
They
had to walk away from the project.
They ended up leaving the shop. And I'm like, this has got to be way easier than they're making it.
Yeah.
So I crawled under there.
Let me have a look-see.
Mind you, I went under there for 5 minutes and tried to fiddle it out of there, right? So I waited till they left. As soon as they basically walked out of the door and walked past the end of the shop, I had it out.
You're damn right, Jeremy.
I twisted it just the right way. I'm like, no, this has got to come out of here.
Well,
the engineers aren't going to fuck you that bad.
Yeah.
So I twisted it just the right way.
That's what it is.
Right out.
Yeah.
There's always a little finesse and
Technique.
touch. And if you got 2 people looking at it, yelling at each other, it's like, no, this way. Oh, fuck it. Let's go.
Yeah.
And I knew what the problem was.
Yeah.
Jared was frustrated.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Grant was trying to quickly help him get it out of there.
So at that point, we had started Friday afternoon. This was Sunday evening is when you came in. And Jared was frustrated because of his only mode of transportation. Oof. And it was in my shop where work had to be done for, the next Monday.
You guys did this on Sunday, by the way. You guys finished putting it back together.
Yeah.
I helped you get it ripped out.
Yeah.
By the time I left, the turbo was sitting on a table.
Yeah.
And all they had to do was drill it out and start putting it back together.
Yeah. So we had... Anyways, how we got to this was a simple job, that easy on paper, and you could watch a video on that.
Turned out to a turbo on the table.
Exactly.
Yeah. It turned into an all-day job on Saturday and probably 4 hours, 6 hours on Sunday.
Yeah. And it was just trying to come up with solutions.
My only question, did he make it home? Did he make it to work on Monday?
He did make it back to work.
Well,
In fact, that the turbo, actually, we had one of the bolts break on that, and we had to... What did we do?
The turbo was sitting on the table when I left.
No, I know.
We had to drill it out.
Yeah, we had to drill it out, but we had to...
The flange, the housing?
Yep.
Yeah, I think it was either a nut or a bolt. I had to do something like that where I had to tap or die something like that.
Sure.
And the turbo, he's still racing with that thing the same way as this.
Perfect.
You know? So...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. But, like, not easy, right?
No.
No, of course. Working on cars is not easy. I mean, you know, it's like with the cars I've built, the car I have right now, I mean, it's never easy. And in fact, it's a test of how much will you have, going back to will. You have to literally want it so bad that you're willing to do far more than anyone else. Because there's been so many times, like my last motor, who hasn't listened to this show, I have an LS based IS300. It's a Lexus.
Mm-hmm.
I had an LS1 in it for 3 years, and I never had to modify it. I tuned it once, and it ran great for 3 years. Freaking awesome! Beat the hell out of it. Worked great. Never
and then you
had
put a Ford motor in it.
No, you wish. I put an LS3 in it, and I cammed it, and just got a ton more power. Like, you know, another 150 horse. But I've had problems with it, and it's always been something where I'm like, I just have to keep working on it. And I feel like if you don't have the will to do that, you're never going to get to those points. There were so many times where I'm like, fuck this. Why did I ever swap it? I should have kept the LS1.
Yeah.
No. That's what separates the true car people from the people that are like, fuck it, I want an appliance on wheels.
It's a mentality. Right?
I think.
Yeah.
It's a mentality. An engineering mentality.
Going back to Gilligan's Island, that was one thing I was trying to say at the end of that story. The entire time, Jared was panicking, freaked out.
Yep.
There was a good amount at the end. I was still sweating bullets, but I told him, no matter what, we're going to get it done.
You know who never panicked?
Well, you didn't.
I never panicked.
Yeah.
I don't panic.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, is when you're in that situation, it's stressful and things.
It is stressful, especially with multiple people.
Yeah.
I was standing there right there next to him, shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, calm down. This is going to work out.
If everybody involved had an unlimited budget, do you think the stress would be removed?
No.
Absolutely.
No, because time is a big factor too.
Yeah.
It's not with an unlimited budget.
But what I'm trying to say was
time.
The one thing
there's no stress, because that wouldn't be your daily driver.
It would just be a fun model thing or something.
If budget wasn't an issue, I agree, Mike. I think that's a very, very important thing to bring up.
I think about that sometimes when I'm working on cars. You know, well, if I break this or the stud pops or whatever, then I'm really screwed.
Yeah,
I think.
But if I had unlimited budget, I could just be like, oh, well, I feel like do a motor swap or something.
Project car owner or everybody with a car they want to make fast or whatever it is, a project car. This is what this whole pod's about.
Mm-hmm.
If you have that, it's smart to have a extra vehicle.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have an extra vehicle. I'm lucky and thankful enough to have a work vehicle that I can drive all the time. But even still, I have a vehicle that I know will run all the time.
Yeah.
And that's to eliminate stress.
Exactly. It's to eliminate stress, because if I want to go mess it with my car, my fast car, I want to not think about it.
If you are at the track and you grenade your motor on Saturday, you're just going to push it on the trailer and tow it home.
Take it home.
Yeah.
Rebuild it. Let's go.
Yeah, fuck it.
But that's by design.
You're like, damn, that sucks.
It does suck.
Yeah.
And it's going to cost me a shitload of money.
Yeah.
But guess what?
No panic.
It's not going to be panic, because I've learned from it. I have had cars where I'm trying to take it to track.
Yeah.
I'm trying to abuse it all weekend and enjoy it. But if one thing really goes wrong, it's going to ruin my whole month.
Yeah.
So
I've been there.
What I've been trying to say is, during that project and during every other project I have with friends, is the one thing I tell them is, no matter what, it will be fixed. Like with Jared, and why I was getting stressed as well was because we were on a time crunch, and I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But no matter what it is with any friend or whoever brings or any project, it will get done. If you got to take a break from it, great. You know, it was put together one way, it was taken apart another way, it's going to be put back together again. There's a process, and it may take a while to figure that out or come up with an idea, but that's one way to look at it that keeps you chugging along.
Absolutely.
So that was the other part of Gilligan's Island, right? We had to go back and forth to the parts store a couple times.
Of course.
You know, and
at least you're not on a track out in freaking the middle of nowhere.
Right, and
we're driving an hour.
Well, where the shop is, it's 15, 20 minutes into the parts store. So, you know, it's kind of
it's not great.
hassle, right?
Yeah, it's not great.
But anyway, okay, two things. One, did you drive your car different last weekend because you had to drive it home?
No.
No?
I actually pushed it.
Okay.
I pushed it. The one thing is this, though. With driving it last weekend in Advance, so people who don't know, last weekend I drove Liger to Advance, and this was without the truck and trailer. I drove it on street tires to an event 2 hours away.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. I was pretty confident that she would make it back.
Yeah, well, apparently.
But that being said, you know, we've talked about having a daily and driving it to the track if, you know, if something happens. For me was putting it fast, a couple of laps down, seeing where it was at, and I wanted to get just faster. 9 out of 10 laps, every single lap, no matter what line, no matter what I was doing, it ended up being 66 seconds. It was 66.1, 668, 665. It was nuts. I had some corners.
Consistent, bro.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely. In fact, people were like, "What is this? What is going on?" As soon as I put down a 65, I was like, "I'm done. I don't need to go faster."
Yeah,
you know, it was just figuring out like what I could do, and it was nice driving on street tires.
Yeah, you had to put the whole string together to get it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I didn't need to drive it to the point where I'm cording my tires. Where I'm now like, you know, I kept an eye on feeling the heat on them. Doing whatever could to minimize the stress. Exactly. Yeah. But if it was gonna get to the point where I was like, okay, something doesn't sound right, I would have stopped and be like, we're done.
Yeah.
So I can get her home.
Absolutely.
You know?
Have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And see, that was my whole thing when I was driving the daily driver.
Yeah, the Subi.
I was like, I don't want to push it too hard because
I
still have to drive it every day.
It was also interesting because, like, I know with driving Liger out that way, I would have found a way to get her home, worst case, because of the truck and trailer.
Somebody would have helped you tow it home.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a trailer.
Or even if it was...
Most people have a trailer.
Even if it was parked temporary somewhere, I would have gone down, come back up with that, you know. But the reason I didn't bring it this time was, and this bad on my part not, was lack of time to get the truck and trailer prepped. I had another trailer I could have loaded by myself on, a tilt deck trailer, but I realized if anything happened to my car,
he wouldn't have been able
how would I get it back on the tilt deck trailer?
Makes sense.
So with that, you know, and my winch on my trailer currently is done. So that came down like, okay, well, if I'm going to take my car and I'm going to drive it on a racetrack, I'm just going to take it to a point where I'm going to see what it can do, try to go a little bit faster, but not go beyond where, you know, the car's got to come home.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. So here's the other thing. I want to give you more time on the Avance.
Okay.
But I think, let's wait until Rob's back.
Okay.
So,
because of more racing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that being said, we're down to the last three.
Isn't it 2?
No.
Three?
Last 3.
Okay.
So 2 questions for Michael and 1 for all of us.
Okay.
Okay. So first question, what car is a hard no for you?
Ooh.
Oh gosh, you guys are going to hate me.
Yeah,
okay.
No, I love it.
Here we go. Drum roll.
So you guys have to remember that, you know, I'm a BMW fanboy.
Yeah.
And so I made like a little pact with myself back in the day that I would never buy any vehicle unless it was a BMW or a pickup truck or a Tesla. And I don't know,
buddy.
I don't know exactly where I stand on Teslas now. I mean, this was something I told myself like probably 10 years ago.
Okay.
So the old Tesla, it was the P100D and the Roadster.
Yeah, but they don't hold their value.
No, but I could still get behind those.
They're fast.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I like performance.
Yeah,
and,
they're fast,
and it's new tech. I like tech. I'm a big tech fan. So that being said, I pretty much hate all cars. No, I'm just playing.
Seriously.
No, I hate every car too.
Hard nose. Okay, so I'm gonna hit on a couple things here, and just like I really do not like SUVs. Okay. I think the current crop of SUVs are they're just cookie cutout cars, And to go,
Throwaway
But that's new SUVs. All SUVs in that category still?
well, I mean, you could go back 10, 15 years. They all have the same body style. They're shortened.
Okay.
They're shortened station wagons that are lifted that have a little wing on the back. That's what all of them are.
Where do you put the Excursion at then, or a Suburban?
It's a truck.
That's what I think personally, but I know a lot of people call them SUVs.
So the Excursions were made before the whole SUV craze, and this Excursion is made on a truck chassis.
Yep.
So it's technically a truck.
Ladder frame.
Yeah.
Jeremy still calls it an SUV when I drive it.
Suburban's made on a truck chassis still, as far as I know. So.
Would you not
they still
consider the old Broncos and the old K5s?
Well, that was before that. I mean, those are
That
truck
was still
chassis again.
ladder frame.
And it's not. It's not like I'm saying these box cutters that we currently see that.
I know.
Like 80%
I
of the cars
understand
on the road
exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, no, they all look the same. It doesn't matter if it's a Subaru, Toyota, fucking
Yeah.
Ford. It doesn't matter. They all literally look like a little suppository, and they're throwaway cars. Nobody's going to be building one up to restoration
Would
in
you-
any time in the next 50 years, 100 years.
Would you then consider the new Bronco not the Sport, the big boy Bronco? Because that doesn't
Ladder
look
chassis, bro.
Again, that's a truck.
Is it based off a truck chassis?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it has a straight axle up front too, right?
Yep.
Am I right on that?
Yes.
I believe so, yeah.
So now expanding on that a little bit,
Okay.
I'm going to hit like on like Hyundai and
Kia.
Kia.
Please do.
And so some of those designs we're seeing right now, those designs are not going to age well.
No.
They have that new electric car out. I think it's the
Ioniq.
the
Ioniq
Honda.
5.
Yeah. So you remember some of the cars like from the late 70s and the early 80s?
Mhm.
We're going to look at these cars in 10, 15 years from now like that.
So you're not a fan of their retro styling? Is that what I'm getting at?
No, I love retro styling.
Okay.
But that's not a retro styling in my.
Which one are you talking about? The 6 or the 5? The Hyundai. I know you're talking about the
It's
Hyundai.
the Iconic thing or whatever.
the Ioniq. Ioniq 5 or
It's-
6. There's 2.
I don't see.
Oh, I didn't
just
know
don't
there was
about
two.
them.
So
And
the
they have-
5, honestly, I like it. It looks kind of like more boxier and more. I mean, it's still a throwaway SUV. I'm not going to say it's not.
Mhm.
But the 6 look like hell. It's trying to look like a Mercedes
So
CLA 65.
there's
thing.
It's
one
the
right
mom,
now.
we have a Mercedes
it's
at
all
home.
electric.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No,
It's
they're
all-
both all electric.
Okay, and one of them is putting out like over 600 horsepower,
Yeah.
That's the 5.
Probably needs to.
the 5N.
and it's like I said, they're not going in the right direction on the styling,
Okay.
Okay.
and styling is a huge part for me on cars
Oh, yeah.
and that kind of thing.
So do you not find it retro looking?
No, not
Okay.
at all.
It's
No, I find it like something that is trying to be ahead of its time, but it's just not there.
it's
Because if you want to look at anything ahead of its time, it's going to be like a
what's it
German cars
called?
are ahead of their time.
what's
So
it called?
styling always follows those. If you guys notice, Toyota and Honda will follow German styling.
It
They
is
have
They're always like a couple years
At least
behind.
in the last 3 decades.
Yeah.
It's not fashion. It's not styling. There's a word for it. It's where like 90s cars have an era, and you have 70s cars are boxy. They don't follow I think the best way is they don't follow the norm. The
Trends.
So
Trends.
there's when you design a car, there's rules that you follow.
yeah.
There's like laws. There's the designing laws.
Yeah.
And I don't know those designing laws. I know a few of them. Like for a sports car, you want a long hood and a short trunk. That's like the epitome of a sports car design.
Mm-hmm.
And there's certain things that you do with pillars, and there's certain things you do with side body lines to connect this to that. And the stuff that's coming out from these car manufacturers that I mentioned earlier is just not there. It's
They're forgettable.
when you look at a car, it's supposed to pull you down or pull you into it or pull you down the side. And they like these cars look like a bubble or I don't know how to explain
It's
it.
disposable. Let's be
Yeah,
honest. The
yeah.
whole
Yeah.
design is
Yeah.
disposable. I
Yeah.
agree with you. I think Hyundai and Kia in general make disposable cars. Even their Genesis Coupe,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, it's a rear-wheel drive manual.
Mhm.
It on paper, it was great, but it was not as good as the sum of its parts. Have you ever heard that term?
yeah.
Yeah.
It was not as good as the sum of its parts because it literally wasn't. It didn't. The transmission was glass.
Yeah.
The motors fell apart. I mean, yeah, it's a rear-wheel drive manual 6-speed coupe, but it still sucked. Even I've driven a few of them. They sucked.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
sucked.
and
They felt like shit.
now-
I'm a drift guy, so
Hyundai has a
all of them. And that sucked.
what is it? The Elantra ST or
The
whatever.
N.
The N. That's the N. The N is their M.
It is. Yeah, that's their N line.
You know, they got one of the engineers from the M from BMW, right?
I can't imagine how rich that guy is.
So, and you look at that car, it's way overpriced for what it is. You're still getting a Hyundai, and it's, you know, I'm picky with my car, you guys. I'm sorry.
No, please be a snob. I want to hear it.
You know, I'm very biased with my cars, and I like performance and styling and safety, and and that's, you know, and like I said, I'm a fan of a certain brand, so it kills it. You know, it kind of kills it.
Sure.
Mike, do you mind? So trying to think of the words. I'm gonna try to. I think I understand what you're saying in terms of the styling, and I think I got it. And correct me if I'm wrong on this. Okay. So in terms of the Hyundai and the Kia, like what they're looking like now, it's not iconic like a Ferrari or Lamborghini, which captures the imagination, and it's not so bold like a Aztec or a Cybertruck, where it's trying to be different. These new cars are coming out are just so generic that they blend in and they will be forgettable in the coming decades. Yeah,
generic is a good word to use for them. Generic styling. Yeah, I like that one.
Okay.
I'm gonna use that one. Generic styling.
Generic.
That's.
I will. Me personally, I think the Ioniq 5 and the new Santa Fe. I follow cars, guys. You everybody knows me here except for you, Mike. But it's great meeting you. But I literally follow every new design. I find it fascinating, and I think that the Ioniq 5. I hate the 6. But I like the new Santa Fe. It's a minivan, for God's sake. But it looks like a 90s van. And I like that. I really think that, let's bring back a little retro styling.
Yeah.
Do I think they're good cars? Absolutely not. They're crap. They're throwaway cars. The motors are crap. The all-wheel drive system is awful. It's all front-wheel drive, 90% biased. They're just upselling people. And they don't run for more than 10 years.
100,000 miles.
That's why they give you that's why they give it, because they're hoping you come back because you get another.
Exactly.
So I'm not defending Hyundai, but Kia is the all-time offender. Their cars, in my opinion, now with their like spiderweb headlights that go like in, it looks like if you guys see what I'm talking about, they go like all four directions. I think that looks insanely awful. And why are they doing this?
Yeah.
And they're terrible cars. Cheap crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, to somebody that's ignorant to car performance and car manufacturing, that kind of look may appeal to somebody, and it's in the price range.
No, you're right.
And so they're hitting that market.
I'm not saying it's not appealing to somebody.
Yeah.
But I just think as a car person.
Yeah, it's just not going to last.
So the hard no for you is just the generic SUV type cars. Or is it
and Hyundai and Kia?
You know, that's basically the gist of it. You're gonna hate me for this. I love to make fun of Mustangs.
Okay,
yeah,
that's fine.
Perfect.
Because there's
Jeremy.
My wife and I have a nickname for them.
Okay,
we call them.
If you say Liger, I swear.
We call them crowd pleasers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Crowd killers.
Crowd killers,
well,
dude.
We call them crowd pleasers because they're always, they're attracted to crowds for some strange reason.
You'll be happy to know mine's a vegetarian. It's only attracted to cones.
Yeah,
that's a good thing. That's a very good thing. I've had this infatuation with them because I've always wanted to drive one and get on it and see if when it breaks loose, does it just keep going like the videos show?
You need to come to
or
the track.
Does everybody driving a Mustang suck?
Yeah,
no, I think most of them suck.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You need to come to the track and drive Liger one of these days. Then
here's the problem with the Mustang. It's not the Mustang. They're inexpensive, and they're a very good base model sports car.
Yes,
for the money. For the money.
Okay, yeah. I think regular car reviews said the best is the Mustang. The way that it's driven is, for example, like my year, it's 300 horsepower, rear-wheel drive. Rear-wheel biased. You're going through it. Hang on, Jeremy. Hang on.
I'm going to disagree with you.
Hang on. Regular car reviews, their thing says that most people that jump into them come from a front-wheel drive or an all-wheel drive car, and they've said, I've experienced with more horsepower, more torque. This is going to be easy.
Because
they're not.
It's not the same.
Exactly. And the way it delivers the power and the way the back end kicks, no one that is... unless you grew up with all-wheel drive cars or worked your way up that power, it catches them by surprise.
Yeah,
of course.
Especially if you throw someone, say, a keys to a Cobra That's a whole different realm.
They're used to torque steer, and now they're getting oversteer.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would venture to guess that most people that jump into, let's say, a Corvette or a Dodge Viper for the first time, that's not their first rodeo with the rear-wheel drive sports car.
I'd certainly hope not.
When they jump, the people getting into the Mustangs, it is their first rodeo with a rear-wheel drive sports car because they're inexpensive and they're high horsepower.
Yep.
That's why they're crowd pleasers.
And you see a lot of the Z cars doing that.
Yeah.
That's true. That's very
Because that, that's the next step up from an Altima, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And those things are not slow. Like my buddy has like a 2010 Z, 350Z, I think it is, or it's the
370.
It's the last year of the 350.
No, it's a 350. Yeah.
And it was great. I mean, it's a great car. It feels very good. But if you're not used to it, it'll get away from you.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
I will say, Mike, though, like if you were to drive Liger, she's different compared to most Mustangs. Would you even agree, Jeremy?
Yeah, it's not stock.
And even then, it's a car that's easy to drive, but when you're at that limit, it will let go.
Oh,
but it will tell you when you're getting close to that.
My first lap,
It's good to hear.
let go.
Yeah.
Totally let go.
It'll get away from you.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was because I was pushing it. I think it was because I didn't push it. So, anyway, 2 more questions. 1. What are the 3 vehicles you want to drive someday?
Oh, this is easy. I've been thinking about it.
Okay.
First one.
Note I changed it from cars to vehicles.
There we go. Okay.
A Unimog.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Good call.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always wanted to drive one of those. There was one for sale up in Northeast Portland, an old one. I went and stopped and looked at like 2 times.
Really?
Yeah, just because,
Yeah.
I think I've recently put them on my short list.
Because,
Great
it's
vehicles.
like a tractor and it should go anywhere and be a lot more capable than a Jeep or something, so it'd be fun to play with.
100%.
And they come with big tires from the factory.
Yeah, massive. A lot of cool off-roading features on those things.
Yeah.
Very unique vehicle. Very unique vehicle.
Yeah.
we'll go with the second one that you guys are not going to like, and then we'll save the best for the last.
Yes.
Tesla Plaid.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I want to feel that. I want to feel the acceleration.
Model S Plaid.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that's really, that's like obtainable that I could actually, do someday.
Yeah.
So that's why I say I'm not going to well, the next one's kind of a dream, but
I might know a guy.
Less than 100 grand. It's fast.
Yeah. So that would be fun just to feel it, and see what that acceleration feels like with something like that planted to the ground. I think would be really cool. So, the last one is a dream car of mine. It's kind of has been for a long time, is a Lamborghini Aventador.
Okay.
With that Italian exhaust or whatever they have that sounds like a F1 car.
It's titanium.
Yeah, if I were win the lottery, I'm going to have one of those for sure.
That's a good car to have.
Oh God, they sound
So
great car.
I want you to look something up. I'm not going to talk about it again here. But
Why not? Why don't you talk about it here?
No,
Oh.
we don't have that kind of time.
Okay.
Coenseg, the new electric motors.
Yeah, I've watched a little bit of that.
I guess Bugatti has one that's also insane.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which is going to beat that Tesla, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
really?
I'm not going to
33 pounds. And the Koenigsegg puts out like 700
I
or
think I've seen
800
that.
horsepower.
I've seen that. It's a nut
Per motor.
They just broke the record for 0 to 400 back to 0 or something with that car too. Yeah. But the thing about that car is like I will probably never see that car in real life, much less be able to ride in it.
0 to 248 miles an hour.
Basically, not a
zero.
production car.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it is technically because they're making 10 or 20 of them, but it's not really a production car.
They're hand built.
I've seen a Plaid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I watched a Plaid go around the track with 4 people in it.
Oh wow!
Taxi.
Yeah.
Yeah, around ORP. It was pretty cool. All right, last question. What's the coolest car-related thing you saw this week?
Oh, that I'm trying to think.
Who wants to start?
Ian, you go first.
Okay, I'll go first. I saw that Toyota has a new MR2 or mid-engine. This article is a few weeks old, but they are going to possibly put into production a mid-engine decent price sports car. We can pull it up if we want.
Who?
Toyota.
Yeah, it's an MR2. They're bringing the MR2 back.
Right. The concept was called something else, but it's a beautiful looking car, and they're actually going to price it under like $50,000, just like they did with the GRS.
Yes.
Yeah, or the Corolla GR. So it's like, man, if you can create
they
a
can
mid-engine
pull that off.
car, if you can pull it off, especially because they're putting the 3-pot motor in it again.
You're going to be more excited about mine.
I can't wait, but I would buy that for sure. 100%.
I will say
I will
this,
sign my
though,
life away right now.
if they come out with an MR2 that's under 50 grand and they can actually make it under 50, because they said that with the Supra and it wasn't.
Even the GR
But-
Corolla, it was overpriced.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but if they can't do that, its biggest competitor is going to be the C8.
Yes.
And that's going to be really hard because, say, if it's a turbo 4-cylinder 2-seater, even if it's a V6,
True.
it's going to be hard to beat the price difference on a base level Corvette.
You're
Oh,
right.
yeah.
And
You know.
performance-wise, yes.
But if they can do that where it's on like a $40,000 level,
If they
and,
can make
you know,
a 50 grand on the dot,
yeah,
like medium loaded, good track width wheelbase
Mhm.
car that's not like that's much smaller than a C8. I
Yeah.
want it smaller and lighter. We all
Yeah.
do. That's why I want it.
like a Miata
Like
version.
a Miata
Yeah.
mid-engine, just like the last few MR2s.
Yeah.
That's what I would literally, I would do it.
Could you imagine
I'll
the
pre-order that shit.
Could you
I want
imagine
it.
the new replicas that are going to come out based on that?
All right,
No.
you ready for this?
I'm ready for this,
You
Jeremy.
ready? All right. So along the same lines,
Okay,
Nissan is doing the same thing.
they are.
I hope.
Now hold on
Okay.
before you get excited.
Oh, I'm already excited.
So they're building. They don't really have anything between the 370Z
Mm-hmm.
and the Skyline.
Mm-hmm.
They're bringing the Sylvia back.
Oh, I hope.
I
to
heard
God
about
they
that.
do.
That one they did.
I hope to
There's
God they
rumors.
do. They,
So
they
as long-
need a new 4-cylinder or a small turbo coupe.
Here's the
Yes.
thing: if the Sylvia comes back, will be nice as long as it's not a rebranded SUV.
It better not be a fucking SUV. I will quit Nissan.
Am I wrong?
Yeah. Okay. Here. One of you
I got
guys.
one. I know the coolest thing I saw this week was in person. I was driving down Cornelius Pass, and I saw a Baja Bug with big suspension going
Yes.
through, and it had power because as soon as it like got to light and took off, the whole back end squatted.
yeah.
He took the corner, and it just like plowed forward. It was just like,
Did it pull a wheelie?
yeah, pulled a wheelie.
That's a good
Nice.
sight. Man.
Yeah,
That's a
Nice.
good sight.
you know.
What's up, Mike? What you got?
Nothing really in the last week. It's been a boring week, except
That's all
for
right.
What about the last month?
for my drive to work this morning was a little spirited with some other BMWs.
Nice.
That was fun. So in the last couple of weeks, I've been stocking M2s in Oregon City,
Mm-hmm.
and so I've come across 3 of them
Ooh.
in the past couple of weeks. And the last one, I got to stop and talk to the guys driving it and did a little YouTube video on it.
Yeah.
to
I saw
peek
that.
around, and
That was cool.
yeah, they let me look inside and check it all out and everything. It's kind of like my dream car. I hope to have that car someday. So,
Absolutely.
but yeah, I don't know. Just scoping
Just
new
BMW
M2s. Starting to
obsessed.
see them now, so that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're awesome. And I even like the new gen. I know it's on the fence for a lot of people,
Yeah.
but I really like the body style. I like the rear. I like the taillights. I like it all.
Yeah.
I don't like the giant pig nose.
Yeah, I like
BMWs.
No, that's different. He's talking about the twos, right? The
Yeah,
the
the twos are good.
twos are
Those are
great.
different,
Great
and
car.
that whole bucktooth beaver thing. I have a theory behind that too. It's just
Oh, I want to hear
Let's
that.
hear it.
well, it's a so going back to styling and stuff. We've always thought that. Well, I've always thought that German engineering has been ahead of the styling, and some
Yeah.
manufacturers will follow that styling. And so they made a big jump on with that grill. It was a bigger jump than typical, right?
Yeah.
It took too big of a bite.
A
Mhm.
little bit.
No pun intended.
And so, all the big BMW fans that really came out with all the hatred for that,
Mhm.
I just look at that and I have my own theory on that, and it just made all their cars look old.
Yeah, that's true on that one.
And that's one thing that BMW carries is like you look at a BMW that if you're not really into them or know much about them, you can look at them and go, oh well, gosh, that looks like a 2020 when it's a 2010 or something, right?
Yeah.
That's true.
And so they always kind of look newer than what they are. So, and it's like anything else. A new body style comes out, like the new Chevy truck comes out or something. People are like, and then
Yeah.
in 3 years from now, everybody loves it.
Yeah.
You're right.
So
They
Toyota did that to me.
they hold their age.
Mhm.
They hold their age very
Yeah,
well.
Yeah.
And then they age well too. Like, I don't know any 90s BMW that looks like shit,
mhm.
to be honest. Like, I think they
I
look
love those
good.
squares.
Probably,
Right.
Bodies.
yeah, probably the
Roxy?
one that's like in the junkyard rotting away. That one looks like shit.
Right.
My,
Jesus.
my favorite 90s
God
car,
damn it,
though, is a
Grant.
Mercedes. I really like the 190E.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Especially evolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that car's iconic.
It is iconic,
Mhm.
and the weird styling with the wide body was so good.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, BMW did the same thing. That Gen 1 M3 was so good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was claddened iron or wide body. It didn't look wide body. It just accentuated the body.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think anybody who likes BMW M anything will say that the original M3 looks it's top 3.
Yeah.
Because it was so simple and so understated, yet so different. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I love BMW, dude. I always have, and I've only owned one, and it'll change someday. But I've always admired their styling and handling.
Mm.
Yeah.
Michael, do you have anything you want to plug?
Not really. I mean, I have some YouTube channels, Oregon Motorcycle and Oregon Remote Control. You guys can see some of my videos on there. You can see my new M2 video. See some of my remote controls.
I watched the chicken one all the way through.
Oh yeah, I have a Oregon chicken. I have a really nice chicken coop that I custom built.
Yeah,
Nice.
I was excited about that
Boy.
one.
What about for when people want to go buy those kits when you get them done? Any idea where they could find those?
I mean, I think I'm just going to advertise them off my YouTube channel.
Okay.
Once everything is finalized. That's the problem with like for my my jet pusher is shipping. Shipping will kill it. So it's mostly got to be local, and that's why I'm kind of geared towards trying to put some of these in local shops.
Okay.
That kind of thing. I'm not really looking to
If you got a hobbyist that would want to contact you, like on Facebook or something like that.
through YouTube. Because
Through
on my
YouTube.
YouTube, I have my
Okay.
emails and that kind of stuff. I don't really mess with social media,
Okay.
except YouTube. But yeah, I mean, yeah, just I'm not like I said, I'm not trying to make money.
Yeah.
I get enjoyment out of building and designing stuff.
Yeah.
And I get a lot more enjoyment watching somebody enjoy it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like get to see them fly something I built or something. That's where I
Yeah.
really
Heck yeah.
That makes sense.
So,
I'm going to plug our social media
Do
just
it.
real fast. So don't forget to follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Discord at Untitled Car Project, Untitled Car Projects, and for Twitter at Untitled Car Pro. Don't forget to email us your comments, concerns, questions. We'd love to hear from you guys. If you got something awesome to say or think you'd be awesome on the show, let us know at untitledcarprojects@gmail.com. And tell Rob you said hi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.
you guys have a Discord?
We do.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's,
I'll get
There's
on.
me and
I'll try
Rob
that.
on there right now.
there's 2 people on it.
Oh, okay.
It's
Oh,
Grant
maybe
and
I'll-
Rob.
Yeah.
I'll get on there.
You should-
So you guys got a group text going? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not on it.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
All right.
Yeah, good night, guys.
Seeing you. All right. Bye.